Hello and welcome to the 4Corners podcast. I'm Brad, joined by Matt and Shad. Gentlemen, how are you doing?
Yeah, good.
Surviving the storm.
Yeah, I went through all that earlier today. It was I sent you the video. There was a car that got blown over on the freeway by a gust of wind.
Yep. Yep.
So that was fun. So because he passed away last week. I looked at his age. Was the 86? I don't remember. Dory Funk Jr. passed away last week.
Yeah, I think 86 is right.
If you don't know, his heyday would have been like the 60s and the 70s. I believe he's a two-time NWA world champion at the minimum. I was looking kind of at some info on him earlier, and his championship and accomplishments section of his Wikipedia is longer than some wrestlers have entries. So that should tell you something, because he's from an era where really he didn't like compile like a ton of belts.
Yeah. This is not a guy who, and this is going to sound like I'm dumping on him, but this is not a guy who had like a Jerry Lawler setup where he was the guy that the belt kept coming back to. They put that on him because credibility.
And it's an era where being like actually even more so than like I'd say the 50s and early 60s, like he was in an era where I think that the championship for like about a decade was him, then Jack Briscoe, then like Harley Race, then the only people that had it were him, Harley Race, his brother, and Jack Briscoe was the
Who did he?
extent of the belt.
Who did Dory beat to become champ? Let me look this up.
I'm actually looking it up too because for the
I-
life of me,
I-
I don't remember.
So he's the second longest reigning NWA champion of all time after Luthez.
He won it from Gene Kiniski.
Oh, Gene Kiniski. Yeah, I was like, he won it from a good name. So,
Yeah.
and this was back at the time, which you would hope because if you're gonna put a belt on a guy for like a long term, you're doing it with a guy that he's gonna be like the new guy. So you're gonna be like Gene Kiniski, who was a big star.
But
And so,
if you read the National Wrestling Alliance book, the belt wasn't very. There was a lot of fuckery with the belt almost instantly to make money. So like, it was never like treated super credibly, and there were a lot of like double champions at times. It's an interesting book. I think Tim Hornbaker, the guy that did Death of the Territories.
Death of the Territories was. Death of the Territories is really good.
Yeah, it doesn't have an audiobook, but I highly recommend reading it because it is like very informative, and it really shatters a lot of like the bullshit people put out there about like old-timey wrestling and like how credible it was.
What was the name of the book again?
I think it's just the National Wrestling Alliance.
I'm going to go ahead and put that on my list.
Yeah, it's a worthwhile read.
Mm-hmm.
This was like around the time they started doing some stuff. At least in the 70s, they started doing stuff where it was like, let's go to Japan, and then we drop the title to like Inoki or Baba for like a week.
Yeah.
And then when they come back, they win it back right before they're about to leave the country. So yeah, there was some like screwy stuff
that was fine. Like this stuff was more like screw job finishes that were controversial, so they could have two champions for like a couple months to make more money, like stuff like that.
I know that there were there were a few cases, most notably in Flair's run, of we drop the title to this guy here, and then Flair gets it back the very next night, but we don't tell anybody because we don't want these fans to set the building on fire.
Oh, that was
something like that.
That was Flair going into business for himself, where it was, oh, if this guy beats me, if I beat this guy, these fans are gonna kill me, just pin me. That's not recognized though, and I don't remember the guy's name.
No. I was under the impression there was more than one, but
That's the most well known one, but that's the one where like Flair was like that was a decision Flair made for himself that wasn't like sanctioned.
I'm gonna say to be that, being that aware and making that call is a good move.
Yeah, and not having the ego because I think there's some guys that would still win even though they knew the crowd would kill them.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it was an era I think where they were taking it more seriously. The AWA in the 70s was also
Things, but I haven't heard like the actual story. But that was when like Tommy Rich won it for like 4 days from Harley Race and then lost it back.
yeah.
But I
That
remember that
was
being
like
like controversial because it's like Tommy Rich, really?
well, I mean, he was hot at the time and Georgia was like the place to be. It was the biggest territory. I think Tommy Rich has talked about it, and I think it was kind of like a thank you to like Jim Barnett and that group. And Tommy Rich was like a big star at the time. I think people don't realize like Tommy Rich was probably like the biggest like young baby face at the time. Cuz he was on TBS.
Uh,
He was like the top face on TBS. Like I think people don't realize like what world that was at the time. And I
yeah.
think they don't realize because he came back down real quick.
So Harley Race won it back from him, and then you had Dusty win it again. He held it for about 3 months, roughly, and then that's when Flair won his first title and had it for like a while. So that's like that goes into like the early '80s, and then Flair Race won it back, but then that goes into like the Starcade one,
Yeah.
which we saw.
Yeah. So, um, this would be, I think Dory's like in his mid 40s for these matches. Don't worry, he always looked old. If you're like, wow, Dory looks kind of old, like now go look at him in the 70s. He's like he looks exactly the
Oh,
same.
he does look old. It's just
Yeah,
he always looked old.
yeah. He was not that old here. Like he was maybe like 41, 42. Like he was well, I mean, he would have never even like sniffed the current WWE like main event
No,
scene.
no,
Far too young. Far too young.
yeah,
You need a few more years seasoning before
Yeah.
they would put him in the main event.
yeah,
But yeah, he always like at least at this point in his life, like looked like he was in his 60s or
Yeah.
older, even though he was
You
barely
can
40.
sometimes tell the era because sometimes he's a little plumper than other times, but like usually you have to tell by the footage because he pretty much looks the same no matter
yeah.
what.
He was kind of in that Highlander stage for a long time.
Yeah. He's interesting though because like he's well, I mean, he wrestles how he looks. I would say cuz he's kind of like cuz like I kind of said like what he kind of reminds me of when you watch him is he looks like that farmer at the bar that doesn't look like much, but if you like provoke them enough, they will tune you up even if you're like 20 years younger than them and like twice their size. Like that's the
Oh
kind of
yeah,
guy that's what he
yeah.
looks like.
It that's absolutely true. There's a story that there's a comedian named Greg Warren tells when he was a college Greco-Roman guy, and I think he went to like University of Iowa, which big Greco-Roman school, and he goes, "Hey, I want you." Greg's like, "Well, I don't want to hurt him," and okay, Steve, are you ready to go? And Steve kind of like slaps his thighs. He's like, "Yeah, I'm good," and Steve proceeds to just absolutely run him pillar to post because Steve had been on the 1980 Olympic team that didn't get to go to the Olympics because of the whole Russia thing and was not over it yet. So there have been plenty of old dudes that I have seen that have been fully capable of turning you inside out. But
And there's if you go read like tales of like beer league hockey players, they'll be
Mhm.
like, yeah, this guy in his mid 50s that played one NHL game came in and he just wrecked everyone.
Yeah. It's just that I will fully admit, for me, like I understand and accept that sort of stuff about Dory, but it's also hard for me to take what I'm seeing with my eyes and put that aside because it's a that perception at least it
He's kind of
it's a little
interesting.
jarring.
He's kind of interesting to watch though, because I've seen him before, but like not with a critical eye. But like he's really graceful and economical with everything he does. And he just like he's one of those guys you kind of instantly take for granted because he makes everything's just effortless for him. Like he just does stuff.
I feel like that part of that is also that he picks what he does very carefully. He doesn't overreach. He's not going into stuff that he's not certain about. So it's one of those the stuff he uses is very practiced.
He's always in the right position. He looks like one of those guys that like if you had to work a match with him that like you wouldn't feel
Because
anything.
I had this in today.
He looks like one of those guys like I said like if you worked a match with him, like you wouldn't feel anything, like you probably wouldn't have to do anything. Cause like you'd go to do a slam and he'd just like do all the work.
Just go for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I said, his positioning's always good. Like he never looks like he's even like a centimeter where he shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm. It's the best way I can put it is that it is a very, it seems to me, a very old school style that he's very good at. But I have admitted in the past that that old school style doesn't typically strike a chord for me. So I can fully admit that that's a me thing.
He's kind of does like do stuff though. Like he's not like one of those guys that like just is like, oh well, this is the headlock spot, so I'm just gonna dead fish for like 2 minutes. He does like stuff,
Yeah, he keeps it moving.
and
Yeah, that
oh, go
that
ahead.
speaking of that, like that's like the match we actually saw not too long ago, where it was like Bockwinkel. And it's
Mhm.
like that's something like Bockwinkel. I haven't seen a ton of like Bockwinkel stuff. Um, but they're guys who do work that old school style, but they're not. Well, it's perhaps it's unfair to choose Bockwinkel or Dory Funk as examples because like they obviously were such big deals like in the 70s
Yeah,
that they held the respective world titles for years. But so that's maybe I'm giving them high praise when it's like, well, yeah, I'm choosing like the best examples I possibly could. But that old school style, there were guys that definitely like it wasn't slow, it wasn't plodding, it wasn't like now's the time we slap on the 5 minute rest hold. It's like no, they were always moving and doing stuff, and
yeah.
that's what that like tag match with Bachwick recently saw was really. They were always moving, like they were constantly moving, doing the next thing, transitioning really well. Which for a match that we saw that was in the 70s, and this match is like obviously well over 40 years old. It's really impressive. Like it's the fact that I we'll talk. We're going to talk about the two matches, but I personally felt that you could transplant these matches like today, and they'd fit perfectly fine. It's just that obviously now things are a little more like acrobatic. Guys are perhaps a
Can
little more
be.
athletic, and I it's odd saying that. It's odd saying that because these guys are all like actual athletes,
I
Yeah,
I think
played
what
like at a high level, like before.
I think what I when we go back to some matches like these that keep the pace, what I really like compared to like watching stuff now is just the simplicity. They don't overdo things, like, they do just enough. They even leave you hanging, wanting a little bit more, but, like, they they understand, like, brevity and, like, "Oh, I'm gonna do 1 clothesline instead of 3." That's kinda some of the stuff I
Oh
enjoy
yeah.
when we go back is just, like
So what I wanted to say is that to your point, Matt, about it working is I fully believe that if you had taken Hansen and Brody, and you could put Hansen and Brody up against I'm looking for a couple of names here. Brody King and or up against Davis and Doyle, or Brody King and somebody to go with it, then it would be perfectly. Sorry, background stuff. Give me just a minute. It'd go
Yeah,
perfectly well. It'd be great.
yeah, they could easily. Well, Hansen and Brody are two
That's
of my
also
favorites.
not fair because
Yeah,
it's Stan Hansen and Bruiser Brody.
they're two of my favorites, and these two matches just reinforce that. Like Hansen is legit. The more, and we've seen like a lot more of him doing the show than I've necessarily seen like personally before we started doing the show and reviewing stuff. And
Mhm.
it's only just reinforced how much I love Hansen. Like he is
Yeah.
probably, if I had to guess, I'd probably rank him in my own personal like top 10. And that's
Mhm.
saying it's something like he did US stuff, but most of his best stuff I would argue is like in Japan. But
Oh, definitely.
I he is just fantastic, and I love Brody too. Like Brody is like if I know we're supposed to be talking about the Funks and Dory Funk, but if Brody is a guy that it's like he died in '88, so he died almost 40 years ago. But if I was going to be like for the modern day era, design like a perfect like pro wrestler, I wouldn't necessarily pick like a high flyer acrobatic dude. I'd create basically in a lab Bruiser Brody. Like he had the look was perfect, like the persona was perfect. He could just brawl. He could actually do technical stuff because he was athletic and was
Yeah,
intelligent guy.
there's a
Like he and
Bockwinkel
he's fantastic in these matches.
there's a Bockwinkel match with him I should put on the list to do if you want to see him be a little more technical.
Yeah, it's honestly it's pretty great because as you said, there's beauty in the simplicity, and there's
Mm,
Bruiser Brody brings an intensity to whatever he's doing in the ring, and it doesn't have to be complicated. The thing that stuck out to me about Brody in this is both matches have him do a spot where he misses a leg drop, and it's a transition, right? Bruiser Brody doesn't just miss a leg drop, though. Bruiser Brody is like brings his leg up to like his own shoulder height when he jumps for that leg drop, knowing full well he's going to miss it. And it's just like, good lord, man,
I I
you could
actually
maybe dumb
incredibly
it down
athletic.
a little bit.
I actually love his leg drops because he really gets some air on there, and I like kind of the way he like lines them up and goes for that big jump. Also, fun fact, but John Nord uh,
Yeah,
is a Brody mark, and that's what like his
that's why he
gimmick.
would huss.
Yeah, that was like his
Yeah,
gimmick for a long
with
time.
and the furry boots.
Yeah,
Speaking of leg drops, like that's why people always are like, "Oh, Hogan leg drop is a finish." It's like, did none of y'all actually pay attention? Hogan was a 300-pound dude. At
and he
least like
got and he like there were times when he was a
before
younger
like the
man.
90s when he slimmed down, and he
Well,
got serious air. He get
yeah,
Yeah,
over the like he would be up with like the top turnbuckle sometimes. So like so.
yeah, like if a much slimmer man than he was back in the day, tried to do a leg drop of anything like that, like my leg drop would be like as far as I could extend my leg up and then just like kick my other leg up to fall down. Like that's about it. Like they were getting higher than that.
yeah.
Like let me do a leg drop where I'm getting up and I'm dropping down from like 5 feet or more. And it's like that's impressive. Like that's there is beyond just like, well, yeah, maybe they have strong leg muscles. Like no, you have to have some athleticism.
There's and
With
commitment to it. The bone that I pick about Hogan doing a leg drop is not that I don't think it was. I don't have a problem with it being believable. I just thought there would be better stuff for Hogan to have used as a
You
finish.
did
That's
your conceit has always been the axe bomber is awesome, and he should have done that.
yeah,
yes, 100%. He should have used the axe bomber as a finish. What did he do? He talked about 24-inch pythons and everything, and then that whole time, what's he do? He drops a leg. He should have just used that axe bomber to finish people off, and it would have been. To be honest with you, I think it would have worked better because he sets it up, hulks up, shakes it off, point, punch, 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 whip into the ropes, big boot, and as the guy feeds up, Hogan's in the corner, he holds the arm up, runs him over, gets the pin. Would have
His
been
his
perfect.
clotheslines in general, I think, were pretty underrated because he always had like the way he did them was always like
High.
yeah, and looked good. And like there was like a good like they had like a nice like meaty like feedback to them the way he did them.
Yeah, a lot of guys whenever they throw them, they're right here across the chest. Hogan's were way high. So, but yes, it's not that it's not believable because as big as he was dropping it, yeah, I just feel like there would have been better. And we go and look at this match, and we do see Dory attempt to bust out his finish at least once,
Yeah.
and it's one of those that's like I can't help but think that even in the 70s, if anybody else had used it, the crowd would have just deflated on him. I can't help but think that. Like, I get the idea behind the spinning toe hold, but man, I'm not here for it.
I like it better than like the Indian Deathlock.
Like the bridging deathlock?
You know, the one where you like get their leg and you fall on your back and then you
Oh,
get back
okay.
up. That's the Indian Deathlock.
Oh, okay. In my head, Indian deathlock is labeled as whenever you cross the leg, step through it, and then bridge back for that chin lock with it.
Oh no,
Which I guess would be a bridging Indian deathlock instead of an Indian deathlock.
no, the Indian
The
Deathlock's the one where you kind of like tangle their you
Yeah,
kind of hook their leg and then you fall backwards and then you get up and do it again. Like that's that's what that is.
I always took that as a setup move instead of a finish. Like you do that, you're doing that to set them up for a figure four, or a Texas cloverleaf, or a single leg crab, or something like. That's what I took it as. But
Triple H
again,
Triple H would do it here and there depending on how much he was trying to cosplay like his 80s NWA wrestling at the time. Because it was like that was a big Harley Race move, and someone else did it. And I
okay,
can't remember who else did it. And it was you could do it in you could a couple people did it in like WCW versus NWO Revenge,
yes,
and it always pissed me off because that was a long move to get stuck in.
yeah, it would like pan back and start to
Yeah.
rotate around as they did it
Hmm.
because they do it at least 3 times, I think. In any event, back to Dory. We watched both of these matches, and both of these matches are excellent. The execution's great. The the thing that is a sticking point for me is we have these 2 tag matches where 3 people in these tag matches are absolute wild men, and they spend the whole match wilding out, like just going crazy. And there's Dory, and I'm like, that doesn't work for me, brother.
It
I don't
kind of
know if
worked for
that's
me in the first match because there was a bit where he was like kind of doing the like the the grizzled vet taming the young pups a bit.
a little bit. It's
I do get watching these though. I do understand why he was the world champion for so long though.
for his era and what he was in. I absolutely get it.
What why I get it is like okay because I was watching like okay he can have a good match with anyone, um like he could face or heel pretty well. Like as a heel, he's really good to be a foil for like your regional baby face. Um,
Yeah,
and like he's professional, like but like I said, like with his style, it's like, oh, okay, like you could put him in there with like literally every human being ever and he'd be fine. And it'd be a fine match. So I get why he was champion forever. Because I think some people that haven't watched as much wrestling go back and be like, "Ew, why did this guy have the world title forever?" And it's like, well, no, there's a lot of good reasons I can see.
Well, and I suspect that there's some similar reasons with as what they did with Luthez and Harley Race is if anybody decides they're like, no, I'm going to win the title tonight, they're in for a big surprise.
See, now I would say if someone watched a Luthez match, even like stuff when he's older, and they're like, and they didn't instantly get why he was a big star forever, like even like the '80s Memphis stuff. Like if you watch a Luthez match and don't get it, then you don't get wrestling. Because like when we watch the '80s Memphis stuff, I'm like even that like where he was like older and he wasn't a big star, and I was like, oh okay, like I still get it.
You can 100% see that he knows what he's doing.
And you can see like he has charisma. Like
Mhm.
he has like a lot of. I would say Dory has decent like body charisma. Like when Dory's like doing stuff, you're interested. Like he's not boring. Like he doesn't like catch you right away, but when he's doing stuff in the ring, you're kind of like you're he keeps your attention. He just has like I think a more understated charisma. Understated is I think what I would say a lot about Dory.
Like I said, it just doesn't land for me. And I feel a little bad saying that, but
I will say for
if it
these
doesn't land for you, it doesn't land for you, right?
Yeah. I will say, like, I think the first match we're gonna do was technically better, but I liked the second match more. Like, I was more entertained by the second match, even though I don't think it was technically as good. Because the second match so what I like about the what I like about the second match is so the second match is the final of the Real World Tag League in '82. So the clip we watched like has like the highlight reel going into it, and they did a really good job of like building the stakes and like building the personalities of the team. Like you see like Hansen and Brody beating up like Giant Baba and like all this other stuff, and it has like stakes to it. But the other thing I think why I really like it is like the heat for the second match is just insane.
It is. It really is. It is a. It is loud. And it's one of those things that the traditional Japanese crowd, they're sitting and they're watching and they're quiet because they're paying attention. That broke them out of it, like every which way.
Yeah. And they wrestle like they're stakes and they don't like each other, which I also liked about the second match. Like you could tell they weren't. And I was gonna say like because I was like, man, Dory just is really good. And then like he bladed. I'm like, god damn, he even like bleeds like exactly like you're supposed to bleed for like a blade
He
job.
he tapped the right spot, I think.
Yeah, because I was just because like he was doing other stuff. Like I said, like his positioning was good. Like everything looked good. And I was like, damn, like he even like bleeds like perfect. Like just the right amount of blood. Like I was just like, wow, okay,
Yeah.
bravo.
So it's both of these matches are really good and they're engaging, and I believe Matt's having a connection issue. Um, but it's a in watching watching these bouts, it's like I said, it's a case where we got three utter wild men out there, and you also it. This is going to be rough, but um, Terry is you see so much about why Terry Funk works in these too. So it's
Well, Terry's not a stranger to Terry's not Terry in this era is still like has developed some of those like wild man things because you've had like his Florida run and all that stuff by this point.
yeah. So it um I know that we're doing this because Dory passed away, but Dory is the last thing that draws my eye in these matches. And I don't want to it sounds like that I'm dogging on him, and I'm not. It's just really hard for me to.
Well, it was the difficulty with Dory for this was because Dory was a top guy for so long, like there aren't a ton of
Mhm.
short matches with him out there. Like you have to
Yeah.
commit to like longer matches because he was like a main event guy, so he didn't work short a lot.
Yeah.
And like if you're getting like a short Dory match, it's because it got chopped to hell or it's like a TV squash match.
Hmm.
And I don't feel
Okay.
like, and for these, I don't feel like doing like some TV, like 5 minute TV squash match really does justice to anyone, really.
That'll give you a little bit of insight into somebody to see what they do with that time. But you're right. It doesn't give you a good full picture on
Yeah.
them.
But when I was looking for these, all of like the Dory matches were like, because there is, I don't, Shad would kill me, but there really is like a Dory Funk Jr. versus Jack Briscoe for the NWA World Title from All Japan in like the mid 70s. It's like an hour that's really good, but Shad wouldn't.
A lot of forearm shots in that. I
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah.
Well, and then the other thing that pissed me off though is like that might be on DVDs, but there isn't like on YouTube at least there isn't a lot of like Funk's Briscoes out there in like completed form. Like there was
Mhm.
like some angle stuff, but not the matches because I was kind of trying to parse those out too because that was like a big deal at Mid Atlantic for like the
Yeah.
because the interesting thing about it's not so much the Funks, but like Jack and Jerry didn't really tag team until later in their careers, and I think the
Okay.
Funks like also kind of I think Terry and Dory did a little more in like Amarillo and stuff like that, but like I think they also didn't team until like more later in their careers.
Yeah. It's interesting because yeah, long practiced and everything, but just not having the same kind of running chemistry. It's not a that chemistry is something that I don't care how long you've been doing stuff, you still got to build it up.
Well, I think for brothers
And
though, I think there is like a cheat code to brothers, especially like when you're second generation like Dory and Terry, and you've probably been doing this like since you were 5.
yeah, I was I tried to get my brother into doing stuff with me. Um, but the problem was at the time he had moved about 4 hours down to Tennessee, so I couldn't get him up here. But like, I'm not a small dude. My brother's a little bigger than I am, so you would have had this monster brother tag team running around. Who would have known? But there's a certain like being able to read each other.
Would you would you have done like the double running splash on people, standing splash?
Oh, just squash him in the middle,
Yeah,
probably.
that's a good. We
There
were
was a team in one of the places I worked. They did that with a double running hip attack. So
we were talking last week, Matt, that and Shad actually might suggest this to people that there's some little guys that are heels that should do the Vader splash off the middle rope just to piss people off.
I'm gonna get up here and I'm gonna whoa, whoa, and then it's as they come down, it looks like a feather drifting down
Yeah.
to the mat.
We talked about the like the Yokozuna one, but he said someone in the area already does that. So
Um, Big Mama does that.
did
Is it
Crash
Big
Holly
Mama?
do the? Did Crash Holly do the the earthquake after? There's someone smaller that does that.
I don't know. Um, let me look.
Who does that? There's someone smaller that does it.
I know Crash co-opted the Styles Clash.
Yeah, I only did that a couple times, but I did like it wasn't. He kind of stole it from. I mean, he kind of took on hardcore Holly, but I used to love like when Hardcore Holly was like the super heavyweight and they would bring the scale out with them.
Yeah.
That was always a fun little gimmick.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess
So
first match is the longer of the two matches, and this is I think from like the second one's from 82. I think the first one might be from 81 because I was trying to do these sequentially because there's matches till 84, I believe, maybe 83. Because there is another one out there, and there might be a fourth one. And the only reason I didn't pick all of them is because they're about like 30 minutes a pop.
yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, I've
Even though the
wanted
second one's
to.
probably. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, I independently had researched like the Funks versus Brody and Hansen, like a series of like their matches that I hope that we could actually do. So us doing at least even a couple of them is awesome to be, because I had seen clips. Some account I saw on Twitter had posted like clips like from the matches, and they just like looked like they were going off on each other, the two teams. So I'm like,
Yep.
I need to see this. So I'm glad that we have, some of the stuff that we've actually seen now.
Are they in this? I'm looking here. I was seeing. Oh, they're on my. They're in the 77 and 78 World's Strongest Tag League for All Japan. I wonder who they wrestled in that. Huh. But yeah, we had been talking about that because we were trying to do this. We were talking about doing that as like a Terry Funk deal, and then Dory was It was a good reason to do Dory, and like I said, it was hard to find short stuff for Dory because of his position. Or complete
I believe
stuff.
it might be safe to say Dory didn't work short, did he?
No, maybe some Florida stuff, because I will say, Shad, I think you might like him better when he's kind of like doing the David Von Erich like mentor deal.
Maybe. I will say that the thing I think that stood out to me the most, and this is going to sound damning with faint praise, which I'm not trying to do, but his striking was on point in all of these matches. When Dory Funk was throwing hands in these, it was just, I mean, it was really on point. And it didn't, I mean, hell, he could have been throwing everything he had at Hansen and Brody, or he could have just, been working it really well. But everything, all of that looked really good.
Yeah, I think his forearms looked really good.
His forearms looked really good. Yeah.
I think the second match though was probably only 12 or 14 minutes, but there was a lot of like context around that because like that one they had probably a good like 5 minutes of like tournament recap, which I appreciated because that kind of helped with things, and then they had like the the ceremony.
Are you talking about the tag league final?
Tag league final.
So you're calling it the second one, but I had that one ranked as like the first.
Oh, I meant chronologically.
First one, because like in actual chronological, that was from December. That's from December 82, the tag league final, and then the other one was from April 83.
Oh, okay.
And
okay.
I do want to delineate them because I actually thought they were two different matches. I actually found the changes in the second match very interesting, which we'll get into.
Their approaches were very different. Like I said, I liked the tag league final better, even though I think the other one was like a better, like on a technical blow by blow match. I would say that the one that wasn't the tag league final was better as like a match, but I thought everything that went into the tag league final was better because, like I said, the heat was better. They really like the video itself. Like, if you're gonna poo-poo something and be like, "Well, language barriers," like, no, language barrier doesn't count here because they really establish. Like, you get like they really do a good job of taking you through the tournament. They build
Mhm.
Brody and Hansen up as these monsters. Um, and like it does like everything in like a 28-minute video. And like for people that, you know, talk about like the video package thing is kind of a loaded topic like everything is these days, but this is how you do video packages to like establish people.
Mhm. No, I actually agree completely with that line of thinking. I thought I probably ranked the Tag League final a little higher, but the other one is a better match and tells a different story. And it's hard to say it's better. It may be on from a technical aspect like it is better, but it's I feel like different enough. It's two different matches. It's they and I mean, I've seen matches, especially with guys who face each other before, where it's a lot of like the same spots, things like that. And it's like this wasn't even that. Like they changed up a lot, and the story that they went with was a lot different. But I really did like the tag league final. Like uh, a very bearded Ricky the Dragon Steamboat
Yeah, I
uh,
saw that
in it
too.
with Jay Youngblood, which was also a nice callback because it's like, oh, I forgot. Um, and then you had Harley Race and Dixley, Jumbo and Baba,
There's a young boy
and then
Kawada
some other
there.
teams
There's a
that
young boy
I don't think that
Kawada in the background there too.
I didn't even notice him.
Yeah, you can see him during the. And I saw Mighty and No Way, but I only recognized him because he had his name on his jacket. But yeah, I just it was more enjoyable. Like it was a little shorter, and like I said, like the heat really does like impact.
He was off the charts. Like the crowd was super hot at the very beginning,
Yeah.
and they just kept it, especially at the end.
And you know what else kind of I always get frustrated with it, and this goes back to the 70s, but it always pisses me off like that Japanese wrestling it like looks so much better because it's shot on higher quality equipment like in the 70s and the 80s, and then you get to like the US and it just looks like shit because it's like, you know,
Yeah.
shot on like 30 millimeter like old ass like yeah, I because
Mm.
because like if you watch this looks better than some 90s TV.
Oh my
It
god,
yeah.
yeah. Some of the stuff like he got from like the ECW arena.
Yeah.
like,
Even like I would
like it was,
say it looks better than Raw up until like 97 or 98 probably.
Hmm.
yeah.
That was as okay. Full disclosure, I might very well be remembering poorly about this, but um, it seemed to me. I mean, it seemed like Nitro was shot with better equipment, but Raw was shot with better lighting. Does that make sense?
Well, Nitro had better lighting when they had better crowds, and then they darkened it up when like people stopped showing up. Like
Okay.
when they went to the shitty star logo, like everything was dark then.
I'm talking about before that. Like I don't know, pick 1997 as a year as a contrast between them. Also, Matt, the freeze you had whenever I started talking with that, you looked like you had the most irritated look on your face. Just,
I
I don't.
Sorry guys. Yeah, I'm having like connection issues for some reason.
I would
It's
So
all
say
right. It's
I would
just
say
really
it's all right
bad.
now,
Nitro
but
Nitro had like a grittier like look and feel to it than Raw did back in the day.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. It felt more like a wrestling show and not so reduced, I guess.
Well, I think Raw struggled because like for a long time Raw was live one week and then taped. Like they would do like a double shot and they so Raw would be live one week and then taped the next week and I there's just something about taped programming that doesn't hit the same as live wrestling on TV.
Hmm.
And I don't know why. Even if you don't know the results, you can still tell the difference between like a taped show and like a live show.
I hadn't thought about it, but I think you, at least for that era, I think you're right. It might have been because somebody couldn't leave well enough alone and had to fiddle with it, but eh.
Maybe because like I think the way Raw worked back in the day, and I could totally be wrong, because I just remember like sometimes they would do the tape show in Columbus. And I'd be like, why are they doing like Raw on Tuesday? I think they would do like the live Raw on Monday, and then like Tuesday they would do the next Raw.
Is that how they did it?
Yeah, I think so. Because I know it was always weird if you got like a taped Raw in your town, because you'd be like, why is it like on a Tuesday? I don't remember, when did SmackDown used to be when they taped SmackDown? Because I went to some taped SmackDowns and it was always like on a Tuesday or Wednesday, or
Oh,
no, Thursday
yeah.
maybe.
I thought that they did it like Monday, Tuesday, and then aired the tape SmackDown whenever they aired it,
Yeah.
because then that way they didn't have to move the equipment as far.
But I always hated about taped SmackDowns, because I went to a couple, was you still had to sit through all the commercial breaks.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah,
sorry.
just a
I
weird
keep
aside.
yeah, I keep running off on these. This week I'm the one running off on the
Well,
weird sides. I
I
don't know what's
was
going on.
commenting on the video
Mm.
quality of like the
I know,
the
but
shows.
it's usually not me that takes off on the digression. So
Mm.
I don't know.
But Chad described both of these matches pretty well. It's like three wild men, and then Dory's kind of like the fish out of water. And
If I
Yeah.
could if I could do a slight digression, since I wasn't here last week, I was on vacation. Like, did y'all what happened? I haven't had a chance to listen to the show. Did y'all just start thinking about like your war mech like armies?
Ah,
It's like,
yeah, a little bit. Yeah, we got
yeah.
a little in the weeds on some battle tech. I
look,
will admit it.
we were just having a gentlemanly conversation about the heat output of certain lasers for
Certain
battle mech.
particle projection cannons,
I
Yes,
see.
depending on the environment they're
and
employed
how
in.
much the clan era ones pissed me off, because like you didn't get any more damage, but you got like 50% more heat for some extra range, and it pissed me off. So
Well,
And
there
less
you
weight.
go.
Anyway, yeah, no, yeah, we meandered a bit last week.
that was towards the end of the show, though.
That
Yeah.
is true. That is true. But
We did talk a lot about Ray Trailer and Vader,
mhm,
and
yeah,
we also talked about why the Guardian Angel gimmick wasn't as stupid as Dark Side of the Ring was trying to make it.
yeah,
Yeah, they were trying. They're trying to do something with them, you know.
Well,
And it was unfortunate. I wasn't on the show last week, so I don't know. You guys probably covered it, but it was unfortunate that like that didn't work out, and then it's just like he got shuffled right back down like the card,
I think it made sense
and
though.
like for a
Like
moment, like for a little bit.
it made sense as character progression, because like he went from being a cop to like a vigilante.
mhm,
Yeah,
And I think like the Dark Side of the Ring was trying to be like, why they do the Guardian Angels, like because it was a well-known vigilante group at the time. Like you can kind of think it's dumb, but like it does make sense
yeah,
if you're trying to like get out of a lawsuit. Like that is like a logical character progression for him.
mhm,
Oh, we did find out the Guardian Angels are still around.
yeah. Apparently, mostly hanging out in the New York City subways. So
That's kind of where they would be. Yeah. Um. So then, like, okay, so the tag league match is pretty much just Brody and Hansen are out of control. They get a little
hmm
too wild. They get DQ'd. Luthez makes an appearance and gets beaten up.
we're skipping like ahead a lot. Like this was this was a fantastic match. Like I love that right out the gate, like Hansen and Brody are just like ready to go. The crowd is like
Mhm.
almost on their side. I think they're just like rabid for them. And
Yeah.
so when I was writing down my notes, like I delineated Dory as Dory, and Terry Funk I just called Funk because to me I love Terry, but he's Funk. But Funk, again, we're kind of talking about Dory because he just passed away, but Terry I felt was like the star of this match really because he was just so good.
Hmm.
Which is again, he's in the discussion for best wrestler of all time,
Yeah.
and he really is.
I,
And this
I
is like another example of just how good he was.
I agree with that because I feel like Dory had more shine in the other match.
Yeah, but Terry was great in this. Terry was like just he could not wait to like lock horns with Hansen. But the fascinating thing about this match is that if you actually look at it, it's not a glorified squash, but Hansen and Brody are really on the offense like most of the match. Like
Oh
they
yeah.
really kind of dominate the match a lot. And Funk Terry just does such a great job at selling, getting his ass beat, and getting desperate, increasingly more desperate as he just absorbing punishment. But Hansen and Brody were fantastic too. They're doing shit. They did more in the second match, which I'll get into later. But they were doing stuff that like you rarely ever saw from them. Like Hansen goes up for a drop kick at one point, and then Brody does it, and it's like I almost feel like they were maybe in the back or just feeling it in the ring. They're just like, I'm gonna show these assholes like what I can
There,
get up off my
Yeah.
feet and do a drop kick. Hansen did it, and then Brody, I could almost feel like, oh okay, like let me do that
Yeah.
there's something Terry did both times he took Brody's drop kick I found interesting, and I know he's done this before because I think it's kind of his thing, but like he would grab the rope with one arm when he took like the Brody drop kick, and I don't know if that was to bump like properly for it or was to slow himself down, but like I noticed both times he like when he would come off the rope, he'd have his hand on the ropes when he like would bump for the drop kick.
Mhm.
Yeah. Uh, and there's a point where Terry is basically like facing peril, where he just getting just his ass handed to him by by Hansen and Brody. I wasn't sure. I couldn't tell. I didn't rewind it to see, but I couldn't tell if he actually bladed because he gets busted open at one point. I couldn't tell if he bladed or he just let Brody like hard way do it because there was a point where Brody does the spot where he's just like biting Terry's forehead, and then after that, like Terry's just like busted open. And it's like I don't know that Terry was like, no, you need to bite me for real, and like bust me open. But Terry is crazy enough that he could have said that to
He
Brody.
could have.
But I don't know. I imagine he probably gigged, but I wasn't sure. But he's bleeding,
Yeah.
and eventually, like the match continues more, and Dora gets busted open. And then I forget exactly what sequence it led to, but Terry and Hansen are outside the ring, and Hansen gives the big lariat to Terry, and that's basically it for Terry. Like he's done with the match. But
He
in
gets all
true
wrapped
Terry
up in the
fashion,
streamers.
did you catch that?
Yes.
I saw that, and I just busted my ass laughing because no, if you know Terry, which we've heard so many stories, not that we knew Terry like personally,
Yeah.
but Terry and the goofy shit that I busted out laughing because I'm like, that's Terry. Like, they probably went to the back, and if they did, if Hanson and Brody didn't immediately see it, like probably looking at the footage or whatever, they probably busted their ass laughing because it's
Yeah.
like Terry is just obviously a
Covered.
thing in Japanese wrestling is they throw streamers. He not only had when he took that lariat bump, he had to have like taken the streamers and piled them on, wrapped them
Like you
around
could only
himself because
tell
he's buried.
yeah,
Oh,
because like you, the only, because if like, because when you first catch it, you're like, why is like if you just saw it, you'd be like, why is that? Why are they focused on that blob of? Oh, there's a leg. Okay.
Yeah.
yes. And
Well,
if look if I was Hanson or Brody, they're professionals, but if I saw that, I probably would have been like just hiding
Well, I
my
mean,
just
it's
I would
it's
have busted
Bruiser
out
Brody
laughing
with the beard. He just kind of
let's
tucks his
let's
face
just
down,
be
and the
let's
beard
just
because
covers
he's
it
just
up.
taking the piss. You know, he's just like fucking like I'm gonna wrap myself in streamers, and he's
And
just rolling around like
well
try to I'm hurt. Meanwhile, he's just covered in stream. It's a
Let's
mass. It's
just
a human
He pulled him
massive
over
streamer.
like a
And
blanket
I
in a
just like
bed.
it's only Terry would do a goofy
let's
ass thing
just
like that.
be let's just be honest. Stan Hansen didn't see shit, so
That's true. Blind
because
as a
like
bat.
yeah, that because there was a book I read where they were like interviewing all these stars, and they'd ask like, well, like they'd always bring up how stiff Hansen was, and everyone would be like, well, you know, he's blind as a bat, right?
Yeah,
And even they asked him, and he's like, well, I'm blind as a bat.
yeah. That's. I think Foley's book makes the reference. Um, he says if he didn't have his glasses on, he couldn't see more than a foot in front of his face. So he would just swing as hard as he could so it would look good.
Yeah, I feel his pain because this is about how far I can see in front of my face.
I
Yeah,
can see
I
fine.
mean,
I just not
I wonder,
fine, but
I
can you
have
see? Like, can you see how
contacts
thick
on.
my glasses are?
those are decently
Yes,
thick.
I have contacts on, but I'm pretty nearsighted. I can't, it's not as like a foot away is bad, but I mean, if you ask me to like without my contacts or glasses on, if you were asking me to read like read those texts from like 10 feet away, I'm like no chance.
Yeah,
Like,
Oh,
that's
I
but
if I took my glasses off, I couldn't see shit on my screen right now. So that's how.
yeah,
I could do okay. My prescription's not terribly strong, but it is kind of terrifying to know that Stan Hansen was just going to run you over because by the time he saw where you were, it was too late to stop.
No, I'm so nearsighted. They recommend I get the smallest frames possible because they can compress the lenses as much as possible. And
Mhm.
I don't know. Like I said, I can't see shit, so I don't know if you could tell how thick my lenses are because
You've got an idea.
because like because hold on, I gotta get them back on right. So because like the bigger frames are like back in style, and I hate them. And people are always like, "Why do you hate the big frames?" I'm like, because I've had glasses since I was 5, and in the 80s, so I was that kid with the big Coke bottle glasses. So
Yeah.
I want the smallest fucking frames possible because I was like that stereotypical kid you see in the movies with the giant ass glasses. Like, no, I don't want big frames
Yeah.
because
These
mm,
frames are where I'm happy with having my size be at. Unfortunately, like the ones I have that have the good transitions on them are the Dahmer style glasses, and it's just like, why did these come back around?
I love my
Why?
transition lenses. Like they're awesome. The only thing that sucks is like, well, if you're shoveling snow because of how the light reflects and
Oh,
you go inside, you can't see a fucking thing and you'll trip over
no.
something because like they're because the thing
You
is
s-
they instantly
yeah.
turn when you go outside, but they don't quite turn when you come back in. But I love my
Yeah.
transition lenses.
That is transitions is something I pay extra for when I get new sets of glasses. It's
Yeah.
just these
It's
don't darken up as well, but these have the blue light filter on them. So like what we're
that's
doing right now, obviously I'm looking at a screen. That's not it's going to be easier for me to go to bed after we get done.
I
But
actually
the
with my work PC, I found out like newer Windows 11 has a display setting called Nightlight, and it
yeah,
yellows your screen out, and it is the best thing. Like I tell everyone about it that has like
yeah.
light sensitivity. Like, no, you need to turn this on, and they're like, oh my god, this is so much better. I'm like, I know.
What are you going to say, Matt?
it is transition the ones where like you go outside in like sunlight and it
Yeah,
turns into like sunglasses.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't like that. I mean, I wear contacts, but uh, contact prescription.
You don't.
And I
You
I buy my contacts through her. So when I have like enough for now, but in like a couple months or so, when I need new contacts, I'm gonna probably order these. She sent me samples. They have, and it's like this is like the wonders of technology, like the amazing like things that they. She's like, oh, the new contact that is a blue light contact. It's like a special. It has like a special like filter on it
Wow.
that for people like me who I actually like typing at a computer like 50 hours a week, probably
Yeah.
40 minimum. Like I have 45 hours. Like I gotta actually like look at a computer and stare at a screen. And this is specially designed like to help that. And I've used like some of the samples, and I'm like, you know what? It actually does make a difference. I don't feel like the eye strain, and they're more breathable. If you wear contacts, like that's actually a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have like sometimes I have issues with like astigmatism.
Oh
So
yeah,
I need like
I
a
got
breathable
I got
contact
that.
lens.
I got that too.
Yeah. So I need like I need something that's a little more breathable so like the astigmatism doesn't, my eyes don't get all dry
You
and
can get
everything. So they have a contact now. I haven't asked her. She's giving me samples, so I don't know how much more I'm gonna
you can get
pay for
LASIK
these.
now with
But they're
astigmatism.
fantastic.
You can get LASIK now with astigmatism because they brought that up, and I'm like, well, both of my parents have cataracts, so there's no reason to get the LASIK surgery because like that's gonna make getting rid of the cataracts worse. So I can't get it.
I would get LASIK just to not have to deal with glasses or contacts, but I'm also like I haven't done it yet. So I mean,
Because I got the I got
I'll probably
the I got that lovely astigmatism too because I used to have to get like I had contacts for a while, but it was a whole thing because like when I was getting them, they had just figured out how to fix like astigmatism, so I had to get them like weighted and all this like custom crap done to them. Which I think you see better with contacts. I'm just lazy and I don't like dealing with them every day.
it depends on what you do. Like I 100%. And I'm sorry to cut you off, Shad. I 100% think that if you are gonna spend a lot of time like reading, like text, glasses are better because you don't have the eye strain.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
With contacts, like well, specifically like reading from a screen.
and if
Like
you
it's not much difference like reading from like if you're reading like pages on a book, but actual screen, like I do feel like glasses are a little better if you don't have like the eye strain.
And if you happen to accidentally fall asleep with your contacts still and it's like waking up in a horror movie, be like, oh my god, my eyes! Like, what did I do?
I mean, we're lucky. Like I remember like back in the day, like 80s or the 90s when they had contacts come out, it was like actually like hard lenses, and now it's like they're probably they got to be plastic because
They were always
I can take
soft
them
lenses.
out. They're I can take it out and it's just like floppy, which you got to be careful because
Yeah,
sometimes they can just tear. They can
Yeah.
tear easily. Like if I took my contact out and just went like,
yeah.
it would just
And
tear
they
in
do
half.
that. I had one do that in my eye once. That was delightful. The one thing I did hate
Oh my
though.
god, that's painful as hell because you're like, why is my eye feel like a knife in it? And it's like
Well,
because it's your
well,
contact red.
that's the other thing. The other reason I don't want to go back is like, you clean them and everything, and you put one in, and there's like a speck of something. Like, oh, like what the, like,
Yeah.
or
The thing that I'll run into with my contacts is I'll get a dry spot and I just can't get the thing to go away.
or because mine were
Oh yeah,
weighted,
you
like
gotta
you'd like do something
yeah.
like you'd go like this on your eye, and your contact would go back in your eye. You'd be like, fuck, god damn it. I don't know if regulars do that as much, but mine would do that because they had like the weighting, but like getting them lost in your eyes sucked too.
It to me like I don't lose them, but the problem is, and this happens infrequently, but every like let's say 3 months or so, I will like I may fall asleep like with the contacts in, and that sucks because then
They're dry as
they're like
fuck when you,
glued.
yeah.
They like get glued to your eyelids. So
Mm-hmm.
when I'll wake up, you know, usually probably I just fell asleep on the couch watching TV and wake
Yeah.
up like stumble like 3 a.m. It's like, oh no, my contacts. And I go to the bathroom and I'm like, and I have to like,
Yeah, it's like waking, like I said,
it's like glued.
it's like waking up in a horror movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just
I'm
waking
like,
them
and
up
they're
there.
glued to my eye, and I'm like, trying trying
It's
to pluck it out.
it also when you're doing it because you're just used to it, it skews people the fuck out when you start touching your eye. It's like I do this all the time. Like
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
'cause people that get freaked
my
out. It's like no,
eye,
it's like
my
easy. Like as long as there's nothing wrong, like you pop them right in, pop them right out. Like it takes like 2 seconds.
yeah. I've taken my contacts out, and my oldest daughter, who's like 6, she'd be like, ah! like, this is daddy like poking his eye. I'm like,
You
no,
don't
it's
even
okay,
touch
it's
your
fine.
eye though. That's the thing I think they don't understand. It's like no, you
Yeah,
just like learn how to like. I probably
Yeah.
could.
yeah.
You do the Ace Ventura and you're like, ah.
Mhm.
I actually, my hands are so shaky now. I probably couldn't really do it easy anymore. because that actually happens sometimes. I'll just be sitting there at something or other, and someone will be like, "You're shaking." I'm like, "Yeah, I do that. I'm good."
Yeah, like a mainline tremor, I guess.
Essential tremors. Because people like a couple people like, you should get that checked out. That could be Parkinson's. Like that's not how Parkinson's starts.
No, no, it's a different thing.
Yeah, no, trust me. I looked at the symptoms. Shaking is not a symptom. Like this is just a weird thing I do. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Doctors don't even care. They just say you just shake. We don't know why. It's not dangerous. It just sucks when you're trying to like, because I can't paint like models or stuff anymore because I just can't stay steady.
Yeah.
Or the other thing I hate with it is, and I don't know why this is an old man thing, but I swear every time I have to use some old guy's tools, they don't have magnetic screwdrivers. I just want to like throw it at them.
Oh, yeah. That's really
It's like,
annoying.
why are you putting life on hard mode? Get the magnetic screwdrivers.
The other couple weeks ago, I was working on something, and I just had this thought process of why do I not own a set of ratchet wrenches? Why do
You got
why
a
do I not
set of ratchet.
Yeah,
ratchet wrenches? Not a
Yeah.
ratchet set. I own a ratchet set, but wrenches that have the ratchet in the other end.
Oh, so the
I have
ones
that.
that obviously they have like the I don't know
You
what
got
you
your
call it, like
classic
the
wrench
tuning
head on one end.
wrench head, and then like
Yeah.
the socket section, the circular
Yeah.
that is like built in the ratchet.
There's a ratchet built
Oh,
into it.
I don't have those. Actually, I mean, I grew up like work on handyman stuff with my dad and
Yeah.
hated it. Like I hated it as a kid because it's like my dad forced me to do it. So I'm like,
Yeah.
then it's work. This isn't fun. Like now, if I do stuff around like the yard, the house, whatever like that, I'm choosing to do that project,
Yeah.
or I have to do the project, but I'm the one doing it, so it's like I don't mind doing it.
Yeah.
I find it like oddly relaxing or a sense of accomplishment. But we never had those, and I didn't like those because I like just it's either a normal wrench or it's a ratchet. Like I don't want the wrench that has a ratchet. Like I don't like that.
No.
And this is a
Look,
very specific personal preference, a weirdly oddly like idiosyncratic preference, but
I am tangling with. So what I had done is I had pulled the fuel injection assembly out of a vehicle. I was like, okay, this isn't working. So when I have this much space to work
I see.
the bolt out, and my ratchet head are too wide to get in there, then I'm just having to take a wrench and do these minuscule little movements and then pull it off there and bring it back. That's
Hey,
what I'm
believe it or not,
talking about.
Shad, I've been there. Believe it or not. It's
Oh, I
like
believe it.
I can turn it 3 millimeters. It's gonna take me 3 hours to get this one bolt off. And it's like I've been there. First off, I did a lot of working on cars with my dad back in the day. That's
Yeah.
why it's like now, like I will send that shit to the dealership. I'm not
Yeah.
doing that because
No.
I'm not. When you're like I was working on a fuel injection, I'm like nope, no, too many hoses, too many things I gotta take off and put on.
And
No,
like,
not
like
doing
for
that.
me, I'll just like I just did it too because I had to like do some stuff with my battery. I just dropped like first turn, I dropped it right under the car, like and not
Oh,
under not like through the car into like a plate inside the engine that like was hard to reach. And I'm just like, this is why I don't do this shit because I'm a clumsy oaf.
yeah. I end up using the foulest language you hear come out of me is whenever I'm working on a vehicle. So, but yes, I'm working, and part of it is I'm working on this because it's a sense of pride. It's I want to be able to prove that I can do it, and uh, whenever I get it done and I get the new injection in it and start this thing up, I'm going to send my brother a text that says I mended a thing with a Jeremy Clarkson gif with it because it's going to be a sense of accomplishment for me is what it's going to be.
I had to help, and I'll never do it again. I had to take the deck off of a riding mower once to fix like the belts.
Oh, I have to do that about every year.
And it was a John Deere before they were being scumbags and tried to make it impossible to do anything yourself to their vehicles because fuck John Deere. But that's a
Yeah,
conversation
I
for.
got an opinion about John Deere now. So,
Yeah, I don't know why I have an opinion on John Deere, but like, yeah, fuck them. That's what I
well,
say.
because John Deere very intentionally decided to take the ability for people to repair their own stuff away.
Well, they
And
lost
we're
that
talking,
case too, so haha.
yeah, well, but they did it in the first place. That's the
Yeah.
problem. And it is, by the way, I realized that I had been using the wrong term. It was a full bore private equity move. And it's just like, well, we could make more money if we did this. It's like, what you're going to run into is do you know who you're dealing with when you do this? You're dealing with farmers. Farmers are going to figure out a way around it. They ain't got time for your bullshit. Like they had the like you had to have the John Deere licensed software for it or something to run some of their things. You know what they discovered? The stuff that the John Deere stuff that was sold in like Lithuania and Croatia didn't have those restrictions. So they went and got copies of the Eastern European software and installed it on their stuff and learned how to use that instead of waiting 6 weeks for a John Deere rep to show up and install the software.
I hate that. Why does equipment need software?
It doesn't.
I know. There's other
Well,
No.
stuff.
you know why cars have it is so that they can scrape the data and send that to whoever your insurance is so that they can make more money off of it. And it's just like, dear God.
Oh, that's you don't need that much fancy shit to do that.
But why are we doing it at all?
Because so when the one I worked at did it is because that lets you because you can bring in with the way the calculations work for making money on insurance because if someone takes that and they're a safe driver, you can safely charge them less because they're never going to like make claims. So you can price them lower because they're not like a risk.
Then I'm just gonna say, just don't. Then you drop it for longer they go without having an incident. Like
Well, it's
that's
predictive though. It's predictive because like the thing is with like when you insure someone, and this has happened because I work these claims. Like, let's say you insure someone and they haul off and just, I don't know, paralyze someone in an accident. And they do that in Michigan because like here's the thing, like like there are claims both in workers comp and non-workers comp that like companies I've worked for are on the hook until that person dies. And you're talking
yeah.
millions upon millions of dollars, like retrofitting their homes every couple of years to deal with their disabilities. Um, so if you insure someone like that, they are a net like massive loss to you forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever.
Brad, I get where you're coming from, but I have a real hard time having sympathy for insurance companies that are racking record profits.
They really don't make that. That's very difficult to make money in insurance right now. Like most companies are actually losing money right now. Um, Making money is kind of a rarity. Like the ones that are making money, like Nationwide, aren't making money on insurance. They're losing their ass on insurance
Okay.
because there's complications because of texting and driving. Like the severity of injuries is like through the roof. So like what used to be like I don't know, let's say like a $5,000 injury is now like a $50,000 injury
Mhm.
because of the
That
severity. But
that as an aside, uh, three.
Yeah, Matt's frozen up.
And through a weird like. I want to explain like she had to go do it like in person. It wasn't just like, oh, let me just do it by mail. Uh, she had to go and she had to take a course. Let me lay sit you down, like show you like a video. And I remember when I did like back in the day, which was much different. But now it's like she was like, you have no idea the horror stories like they would show about texting and driving. And I mean legit horror stories where it's like this 17-year-old kid like plowed through an intersection and killed a mother and her infant baby because he was just like texting. It's
Yeah.
like, oh my god. But yeah,
Yeah.
like
They
it's
did,
it's actually I was shocked at. I mean, I guess you think like yeah, that probably happens, but it happens like a lot, and
They did,
it has
they
devastating effects.
they did a Mythbusters, and it was pre-texting. They were just talking on the cell phone, and I think Adam did it, but he drove drunk, and then he drove talking on the cell phone, and his performance was about the same.
Yeah.
And the other thing is like, and if God forbid you killed someone too when you're insured, like that's millions of dollars that the insurance company's going to pay out.
And let me
And
ask
then
this: that's never happened. That's never happened to me. Knock on wood, never will. But did your insurance company, if they pay it, you the insured, are they just like we're no longer going to insure you because it's like
oh yeah, you can
you're
drop them. You can drop them. It depends on it
yeah
depends
I'm.
on the it depends
Oh,
on the
can you
things, but
drop them before paying out?
no, because you have to, because the other thing
I
that
mean, you have
insurance
to.
well, the
Yeah.
other thing insurance companies take PR hits on that people don't understand is like, is an insurance company, you kind of have an obligation to defend them in like
Yes.
court and stuff, and then people get all pissy like, why are you defending this person? Like, because we're legally obligated to.
Yeah.
So, as an aside, I was involved in litigation that I was part of. It wasn't I wasn't directed at me, but I was part of it, and it's like there was insurance involved. I'll just say that much. And it's like the insurance company had to wind up paying money,
Yeah.
and it was like, yeah, well, they're obligated to, and like they I know because the insurance people basically were like, we don't even like our client.
Yeah, that
We
happens a
don't like
lot.
them. We don't like them. But we unfortunately we have to pay
Yeah.
because we're obligated. And it's like, yeah, that's there is a legal and fiduciary duty. But yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say,
So-
as someone that works in the claims department of an insurance company, I will say, be nice to your adjusters. It gets you really far. And if you're courteous, like a lot of times they will go out of their way to try and get your money like really quick and like handle things. And there's other people over, it's like, fuck this guy, he's an asshole. I'm not gonna go out of my way for them.
Yeah.
Because
that goes for everything. If you're polite to someone in a retail environment, they're going to be far more willing to help you. And if you're a dick, then they're just going to want to not deal with you anymore.
well, the thing I think people don't understand when you work in claims, like I understand why insurance has a bad reputation, but it's the people where it's like, why do I only get $500 for my car? It's like, well, because you have this creditor on it, you have this creditor on it, and you have this creditor on it. Like, I'm sorry, like I understand that this sucks and you don't have a car, but like I'm not the one that took out 5 loans on my car, and we have to pay your creditors with like the money.
Yeah.
Like I'm sorry, like I feel really bad about it, but like I can't do anything.
Yeah, because they're not telling the whole story when they're going to be mad about what happened.
And sometimes like honestly, there are times where the outcome's bad and like you're trying every which way you can to like help them and you just can't because you can't justify it.
So there was another topic that Matt wanted us to get into tonight.
Well, we never finished the second match. We didn't even do
Oh,
the
Did we
second.
not?
No,
Oh God!
No.
I thought we did.
So the second match is later on. This is longer. This one's more like 20 something minutes.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
much more. I would say it's like less intense of a match. I mean, Hansen and Brody are doing Hansen and Brody things. I would say this
Yeah.
one is more Dory does a lot more in this one. Like you really get like a better feel for like Dory, I think, as a worker in this one. Like his strikes and
Mhm.
stuff. He goes for the
This
spinning toe hold. Um, like I said, he's really interesting. Like I think in this second one, like where he caught my attention is like the way he moves around the ring and stuff. Like there's like a certain graceful, like fluid way he does everything, and like there's a
mm,
real effortlessness to everything he does. And I would say like we've talked about it with other people, like, but his economy of like movement, like Dory doesn't do if something requires 3 steps, Dory's gonna have exactly 3 steps to it. He's not gonna have five. He's not, you know what I mean? Like he's
Mhm.
yeah. Uh, to kind of make it brief, like the thing about this I thought was actually I found really interesting. It's a really good match, but I l- watching the tag league final first. Brody and Hansen seemed like they had the Funk's number. Like they dominated that match most of the time. This one was different because this was like more of a back and forth, and it really to me like the story that I took away from it, and I think that must have been kind of what they were going with. I don't know if they had a match, another tag match with them before this one, from the tag lead to this one in April 2023. There would have been about 4 months roughly. I don't know if they did. If they didn't, then the certainly that it would enhance like what I think the narrative was, which was that the Funks came more like they're prepared, and
they
that's what I felt that they conveyed. Like they were answering Hansen and Brody to the point where there were several times in this match where Hansen was in trouble, like, and the Funks were like they were doing like the quick tags to each other. They were really like hammering on, and the only time that Hansen and Brody really had a definite strong advantage was when like Brody would come in and do a bunch of like cool Haas power
yeah.
shit, and then Hansen could like take back over and get an advantage. But the Funks really actually did a lot of really good
They
work together and had the advantage several times.
they wrestled because I think like the first match, they this is kayfabe what I'm saying. They let themselves get bullied in the
Yeah.
first match, and they were trying to meet Hansen and Brody on their level. In the second
Mhm.
match, they came in and like, no, we're not doing that shit. We're gonna wrestle our match regardless of what they do, and they were much more effective in
Yeah.
the second match because
Yeah.
they were wrestling like the Funks.
Yeah. And there was a point where even Hansen he starts doing limb work. And not that Hansen like, couldn't do that, but
It
he's more of
was
like the bully, he's the big hoss, like
that was
he's
like
gonna
his B option
wear you down with.
when he needed
Yeah.
like when he was when being like the bully like head of steam bull wasn't working for him, like that was the okay, well I'm gonna take this guy down, I'm gonna slow it down, I'm gonna wear him down because then maybe I can run wild again,
Yeah.
which I think is an
Uh
interesting caveat for like his kind of style of worker is to be like the well, like if being a wild guy is not going to work, well I'm just going to technical stuff with you then because you won't be ready for that, like I'm going to swerve you by doing holds.
Yeah.
it it was I thought this was really good. I did like the tag lead better, but I thought that this was a really well done match, and I like the narrative story change to me. Like, because you're right, it is like the Funks is like, no, 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 this match we're gonna work our match. Like, and they had much more success with that, and it was pretty evenly matched where they were able to counter Hansen and Brody a lot to the point where even
Mhm.
like Brody's doing like his pile driver to Terry and still not able like to put him away, and the finish comes where you have Hansen. Well, Brody and Terry are fighting on the outside, and then you have Hansen and Dory in the ring, and then it kind of gets like a Donnybrook. There's a rough bump, and then Brody brings in like it looked to me like a strap. Like he usually, I know he would come a lot to the ring with like chains or whatever like that. But
Yeah,
it looked like a strap to me, and he's like trying to go after the Funks with it, and the ref like tries to stop it, and then there's another DQ. There's a lot of like
I did like that spot on the outside they
BS
did
finishes.
where they kind of did that double like slam Dory into the ring post thing.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
I thought that looked pretty cool.
Wasn't it Terry though? Wasn't Terry like getting the ring
Yeah.
post bump?
Oh, I thought it was.
Yeah. Yeah, it was Terry.
And I'm like, it was actually like, I'm like, God damn, Terry. Like Terry just like took the craziest shit, you know, and
Yep.
probably loved it. Probably just, you know,
He
but
yeah.
just I'm like, damn. But
I
I
was
thought
gonna
I thought both matches. Go ahead.
Dory's also. I noticed in both matches though, but Dory is deceptively large. Like you don't think much. Then he's in there with like Hansen. Like God damn, he's kind of like tall and like big.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I mean Terry is too, but like,
Yeah.
I don't know. What'd you think of this one, Shad?
It's a. I appreciate the fact that they don't get bulldozed over. Um, I like how there's more back and forth, and for me, the clearest difference is, in the other match, when Hansen and Brody are just beating the hell out of him, Terry gets in there, and I mean, he's just trying to wail on the guy. I can't remember which one he's trying to wail on in order to get a handle on something, and he can't. He just can't get up on it, and so they're just killing him. Um, I like this one more. Terry is coming off as still a wild man, but more restrained. He's picking his shots more carefully. Um, it's just yeah, it's just better all around, and I appreciate it a lot.
I would say I'll probably give the second one. I'd probably give 4 stars to. I thought it was a really good tag.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're both really good.
100%.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
for because it's not like and for not being like Formula or Southern tag, which I think sometimes like I can get bored with. Like I thought like I said, I thought it was pretty good. It's longish, but it keeps your attention pretty good. Like everything was crisp. They told a good story. I think it works well in tandem with the other match because they do some callback stuff, but like Matt and I were saying, like I do like how they kind of like come in and like, no, we're doing we're not
Yeah.
letting them bully us. We're gonna stick to what we do.
Yeah, we're not going to beat them at their game, so we're going to change the game.
Yeah. So then, okay, so we have our other, and I'll probably put the other matches on the schedule at some point, because I think I would like to see more of their work with each other because they have a good chemistry together. So what's the other topic we're gonna tackle before?
Yeah, Matt, what was the other topic?
I kind of, this was the controversy du jour of like the weekend.
And it's lame. Like
But
don't expect anything juicy. It's kind of just
I mean, I probably have a more harsh like opinion than maybe you guys do. But Avery Styles. So how this started? Avery Styles is AJ Styles' son, and he's getting into wrestling. He's
yeah.
19 years old.
And
Has
he's
had I think all of like two
yeah,
matches maybe.
and he's been well received as
Professional
far
matches.
as his matches have been well received so far, and he's been spoken. His abilities are spoken pretty highly of by those that have worked with him.
Yeah, so I mean, AJ is obviously a great wrestler. Uh, it would make sense that his son probably is very talented.
And he has a decent look.
Uh,
I will say that too. His son has a pretty, I would say, solid look. So like,
yeah.
And
So
very athletic.
yeah,
he did a match this weekend or recently.
it must have been this weekend.
Certainly the last few days. So if it wasn't this weekend, then
It was a GCW show, just so we know.
It's a GCW show. So it was within the last few days, maybe this weekend. I don't quite know the timeline. This started, which I'll get to in a second. This started because Natty Neidhart was interviewed, and Natty does this thing where it's just like, oh, I'm just trying to get back to the indies or whatever like that, and it's like I guess this is your mileage may vary, But it's like you basically just run to effectively like kind of recruiting talent from the indie scene. So you're not really looking for indie. You're not trying to build up the indie scene or help indie feds. You're just trying to recruit talent for the WWE. It's like that's what's happening. But she gave an interview where she's like, "Oh, there are people like Avery Styles who they just want to pay their dues in like everything," and that opened up a floodgate because Eric Cannon, who is a longtime indie veteran and legend and has been around for like 25, 30 years, like he's been around a long time, and I've seen many Eric Cannon matches from back in the day. And he's been associated with like many different promotions over years. Like he basically started tweeting, and it's like, oh, he wants to pay his dues. Like, well, he was at this GCW show, and he was asked to help out, set up the ring, do stuff around like to help set up the show. And he not only didn't do it, like he disappeared, in the bathroom 30 minutes playing on his phone, instead of actually doing everything. And it just went back and forth because then AJ Styles had to chime in and be like, well, you contracted him to show up and wrestle. Like that's all he was there to do. You didn't have to like do that, which I'll get into in a second. There's the argument to be like, well, yeah, like you paid him to come in, like you shouldn't expect him.
He wasn't
to do this work. He's not a ring boy,
and he's not a trainee.
Yeah, he's not a trainee.
Because the thing is, like,
but then it went back and forth.
Well, I was gonna say, because the thing is, like, I know it's only a second match, but if some promotion flew me out to work a match and they're like, "Hey, we want you to set up the ring," it's like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, if they said, "Hey, can you put a couple chairs?" I would probably be like, "Yeah," but if they flew me out, like, is like. Because if they're flying you out, like you're in like some feature attraction level, it's like, hey, we want you to put the ring up. It's like, no, like that's like if it was my home promotion, I probably would do it. But like I said, like if they're flying you out and paying your accommodations and stuff, like, no, I'm not putting the fucking ring up. Like that's not what you asked me to do. You're using my name and my hype to bring people in. Like, sorry, I'm not putting the fucking ring up. Like that, like I said, it would be different if it was like the promotion that trained him and stuff, or if he was working like a local that he drove to for like $20 or something. Like I see that as different, but not how GCW brought him in. I think that context is important.
Fair point. Fair context. As my wife tells my girls when they fight with each other or they say mean things to each other, she'll be like, "There's nicer ways to say that. There's nicer ways to than just be like, fuck you doing that. Like you didn't pay me for that." He could be like, "Guys, like no, like you hired me to do this, but no." Dave Meltzer and Brian Brian Alvarez on their show, like we're talking about this, and they were very sympathetic to Avery Styles. Dave was basically like they discussed that there was this controversy. Dave, I think, acknowledged that AJ Styles did his son no favors because basically it's like my son doesn't have to do that, and it's like your son is let's be realistic. Your son is a nepo baby, and everyone understands, even as a society beyond like wrestling, that oftentimes like if you have like a small company that you own, you're the owner of a small company. Let's say you have like a landscaping business or like a paving business, something. It's like you're the owner, you're the CEO owner of the company. And maybe it's just like locally big. It's not like, you're a multi-millionaire, but you make good money, whatever. And it's like you got a kid and it's like, oh, my kid's going to, come into the company and they're going to work their way up. And your kid has a cushy job and they're eventually going to take over CEO of the company. That's yours. You can do that. Nepotism runs rampant in America a lot of times.
And it's not always a bad thing. That needs to be said. People always have it as a bad thing because I've worked at places before where like we've hired people's kids to do stuff before, and you know what? Sometimes it's beneficial because if they're acting up, you can go to their parent and say, "Hey, can you smack the fuck out of your kid and tell them to stop having an attitude?" And then they show up the next day and they never give you attitude again. So yeah, sometimes having nepo babies can be a positive.
And certainly in in entertainment in general, but most definitely in wrestling, there's many times there are people who have been absolutely huge stars and great workers, great talents that are nepo babies. I mean, look, probably the biggest example. Well, right now, obviously, it's like something like Cody Rhodes, but The Rock. The Rock is a nepo baby in terms of like wrestling and everything.
I don't
Like
think
it
so.
happens.
I don't so I don't necessarily think everything is like fair to say it's a nepo baby because let's not even go with wrestling. Let's just say like you're a kid and your dad like runs a big computer company. And like you as a kid, you're like into it and like you're like, I want to do what dad does when I grow up. And then you get into the company and like maybe you even like work your way up and stuff and you run the company fine afterwards. Like I don't necessarily think it's fair to call them a nepo baby because sometimes like it just, it is like logical that some people do follow in their parents' footsteps. And like especially with like wrestling, like like Jeff Jarrett, even The Rock to a degree, like we're fans too.
So I
Look,
am
it, go ahead, Chad.
I'm going to take the opinion that the term nepo baby is for people getting getting something they're not qualified for or don't deserve.
Like Nick
The
Goulas.
I so I'm going to there are some as an example. I had an opportunity to try and get into the same line of work that my dad was in, and I got an interview for it. By the way, rushed the interview for it, and I got screwed out of it because the person that was running it's like, well, I don't want to deal with another person like his dad, so I'm just making it blank. We're not hiring anybody who's family of someone who works here. Everybody else, every other association, every other state's like, what is wrong with you? Because people who folks who grew up in families that do this kind of work already have a grasp on what it takes and what it means. That's what you want. That's what you need. And well, I'm just not going to. And they're like, what is wrong with you? Like they're and like Jeff Jarrett. There's a lot of talk about second generation wrestlers already understanding a lot of stuff about it. That's where I'm going with this. For me to say a nepo baby would be someone who this is going to be mean, but David Flair did not need to be on TV
Yeah.
right away. That's what I'm going to say is a nepo baby.
Because
Somebody who's
You wouldn't call Charlotte a nepo baby.
I would not. Charlotte worked. Now, I would say Charlotte was overpushed and that sort of stuff, but I'm not
But
going to say she's a
and,
nepo baby by the definition I'm using.
and they also, I would say the difference with Charlotte is they wouldn't let her do any Flair stuff until she was confident.
They made her learn the mechanics before they let her do that. And
Yeah.
at first I thought, well, that's stupid. Why would you? And then I was like, oh, okay, never mind. I got it. The problem that I have with this story is if you're working a show and when you get there, they're still doing setup stuff, it is good locker room etiquette to offer.
Mm-hmm.
So if
And
I were to say, when I go to KWF shows, look, JR knows full well I got a messed up shoulder and a bad neck. He does not ask me to set up ring stuff, but I will still help with chairs or the ring barricade, the barrier. Why? I can do that. Or I will offer, hey man, how are we doing? We got it good, and he has his ring crew guys there, and he'll say to me,
who
nah man, don't worry about it, they got it. But what did I do? I showed up and I offered, and if he said, yeah, can you help with this, I would.
and and to that point, a couple things to note. Like people noted, which is true. Like generally, GCW is obviously a bigger independent
Mm-hmm.
company, but arguably like one of the biggest independent companies. But they generally independent. They don't have like a ring crew, like a dedicated like they have specific people that they've hired to do that. It's not necessarily like that. It's a lot of times it is trainees, or people who are behind the scenes helping to put on the show that are doing that. So it actually is a big deal to help do things like this. Like, because there's not this dedicated group of people that it's like, oh, they got that covered, I don't need to like off. So it is good etiquette, number one. And two, from what is being shared by Eric Cannon and other people were saying this, like, he was asked, hey, can you help? And blew them off. And that's a whole other part of it, is that it opened the floodgates for other people who were like there with the show, including, I forget what his name is, but he's a guy who's he's a photographer for GCW and many other indie companies, was like just like on a tear, like basically like the kid's a dick.
Yeah, and I think he was way out of bounds with that.
Maybe, but
if I was AJ Styles and I saw that guy afterwards, I would punch him in the fucking face. Just saying, and he would deserve it.
Maybe, but he was making claims where it's like beyond just like he was asked to help out and he didn't. He like was like whatever, and I get Meltzer is like, well, he flew him in like a contracted talent, like it's not his job. But Brian Alvarez made a good point where it's like he even said this, is like, I'm gonna do a show this upcoming weekend. I'm gonna be on the show, like he's a performer, and I'm not going there like expecting like I'm gonna have to help put up the ring, or set up chairs or whatever. But if I show up and they ask me, I'm gonna do it.
No, he did not say he did not say that. He said, if they asked me to put some chairs up, I would put some chairs up. He said I would not help them with the ring, is what he said.
Okay.
Here's the thing.
He at least would help out because he understands, like, well, that's the etiquette, and
that's
the claim that's being made.
I do
like,
think
the kid. God.
But I would probably do it too. Like, I probably wouldn't do the ring, but like I'm saying though, if I did do a company and they flew you out, I do think that changes the rules to a degree. And like people are very stuck on the, well, he's 19, so of course you're a bit of an asshole at 19. But I think people are stuck on the, well, it's a second match. Yeah, but like how many people in their second match are getting flown out and having like their name plastered on a show? Like, it does change his dynamic as far as the situation. Like, it's not like a typical second match thing.
So
the problem,
I'm gonna
go ahead.
You finish your thought, man. Finish your thought.
But well, no, I was going to get into my criticism in general.
So here's what I'm going to say about this. Is that there are certain expectations in a wrestling locker room, and some of them would qualify as unreasonable. Okay, Leo Rush calling out hey, you're the new guy on the roster. You're supposed to stand in gorilla and give water to the guys whenever they come back. Why? Because you're the new guy on the roster. That's okay.
No. Yeah, that's dumb.
Right. That is inventing something to make the new guy do for the sake of doing it. However, there are a lot of things that go with locker room etiquette. When you get there, you go around and you say hi and you introduce yourself to everybody, or you say hi to everybody. If you're not introducing yourself, you already know them. Hey man, it's good to see you again. Why? Because you're conveying I respect everybody who's here. And if I will not interact with you, then what you're saying is I don't respect you. And if you show up and they go, hey man, we could use a hand with this, and you won't do it, then what you're saying is that's below me. And there was, I wish I had saved it, but there was an image someone had of a ring. It wasn't a ring truck. It was a trailer. Like they had a box trailer that they had their ring stuff in. And there was a picture of Jimmy Hart in there helping pull one of the ring posts out. It's like Jimmy Hart in his 60s, who's been on TV countless times. If he's willing to help set up the ring, then there's no excuse for you not to. There are some things that are going to be old and hidebound and traditions that don't make sense. But there is sometimes there are certain litmus tests or a shibboleth of how you're going to behave towards people. And so if Avery Styles showed up and they're like, hey man, we could use your hand with this, and he blows you off, then what I'm hearing is that there is an attitude problem at play. And
I unfortunately can believe that at 19 years old, like there probably is.
yeah.
And
And
by the way, Chad, I just sent you the picture. Like I bookmarked where
you
someone,
found it. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, someone had the picture of Jimmy Hart. Like,
That's why. That's
you
also
know,
why I don't. He's 19, and I also think like some of the people like blowing this up are in the wrong, is because this is going to be something that could be handled privately. You weren't being productive putting him on blast, and then
I've
being
heard that
shocked
said,
that,
but
and then you're shocked like, oh my god, AJ Styles defended his son. Like, how dare he?
hold
Okay.
on. I'll get to that. I want to hear Chad, but I have a response to that because I agree. Like that's a fair point. But what are you gonna
Because
say, Chad?
because if it was my kid, like I would probably say, hey, make sure you do that next time. But that would be behind the scenes, and it would still be to like that camera guy, like, yeah, next time I see you,
What?
I'm gonna punch you in the fucking face, even if I did
So
correct it
so hold on.
behind the
Well,
scenes.
the camera guy said one of the things which I found interesting because beyond like the whole like because you could be like, well, he was flown in, like, why does he have to set up chairs? Like, the camera guy made another allegation, which I'm like, that's a little more problematic. That he was like running spots in the ring, like running the ropes, and he was told like, hey, like there's fans who want to crawl in and take their seats, and they can't when people are in the ring like running
Yeah.
run the ropes, whatever. Like, can you like not do that? And he like blew people off, like kept doing it. And they're like, guy, like, hey, dude, Avery, like people want to come and take their seats. Like, can you stop?
Yeah.
And
We're opening the
that is like,
doors. Get out of the ring.
yeah, and that being blowing off, like, oh, like that's a little like,
That
is
one's
it a big issue? No, it's minor. It's minor. But at the same time, you're laying the foundation. Where it's like this kid, he's 2 matches in, and what is he doing? Like big leaguing because he's
I
AJ
think
Styles'
no, I
son?
think
Like, I
he's
don't know.
just I
But
think he's just a 19-year-old dunce, I think is the
Well,
what what did
here's
you want to say, Chad?
here's the thing. AJ damn well should know better. Okay? AJ Styles should know better, and he should have told his kids that. Therefore, there's a certain aspect of, yeah, there's a certain amount of 19-year-old cluelessness and dumbassery that plays into it, but there's also a certain amount of, hey, don't if your dad was in the business, he ought to tell you, like, don't be doing that. The biggest problem that I have with a lot of locker room expectations and traditions and stuff is there's also the thing that nobody ever makes it a point to sit you down and explain it to you, right? And on one hand, it's like, okay, if this is going to be an expectation, say it's an expectation. On the other hand, again, it's kind of a litmus test of saying, hey, if you don't behave like this naturally, then what you're doing is you're showing us what we can expect from you. You're showing us content of your character. And so
yeah, but I think some of that
if
stuff is like set up to make you fail, because like if you're
sometimes,
naturally if you're like
and I have a problem with that.
because like for me, like I'm naturally introverted, so like if I went to a show, like I would be friendly, but I might not seek everyone out to say hello, just because that's not how I operate. And like in a wrestling, like, well, he's big league. He's like, no, I just don't do well
But
like
you
talking
go
to everyone.
around, you say hi, you shake everybody's hand. That's what you do. It's paying respect to everybody else you're going to be on the card with, because you don't know who you're working with. Now, do I think it's if they said to Avery, "Hey, could you give us a hand with this?" and he told them to piss off, that's an indicator of a problem. There's also the when the fans are coming in the building, you get the hell out of the ring, because you know Santa Claus is not in the building, but you don't want to show them how the sausage is made either. That's not kosher. So don't do that. And I have a problem with some locker room traditions because I think that it's unnecessary,
And
right?
some of
Or
it's
I think that it's
contradictory.
punitive.
Well,
It's yeah.
I don't like the you're supposed to say hi to everyone, but don't talk to the veterans because that's bad. And it's like, well, what
You
the
go
fuck
up,
am I supposed to
you
do
go
then?
up, you say, "Hey, good evening." You shake your hand and you leave them alone. Like that's where the line is. That's what you do. Otherwise, if you're not working with them, don't bug them because I've seen this one in action. Saw a trainee who was mad that he couldn't talk to Al Snow when it's like, dude, you're not in the locker room. You're not going to do this because you won't shut up. Like, you're going to piss the dude off. Leave him alone. And the
That's
guy had a
I
hissy
see
fit.
see that makes sense to me though because it's still like a trainee. I'm talking about
That's,
like when you're an established like
yeah. But don't, well, and then there were some established guys who basically wound Al up into an argument back there trying to make their point. And I was just like, guys, shut up. Don't be that guy,
yeah.
is what a lot of that is. And they turn into these hard and fast rules without any nuance because that's kind of what happens is no
Well,
one
I
no if
because I mean because like if I'm at a show with like Dustin Rhodes and I sit down with Dustin, I'm like, hey man, like what's your like I really love Pokemon. Like what's your like favorite game and stuff? Like he's not gonna be mad at me for like talking to him about something he's into.
I'm trying to pick the right words here because there's an assumption of if they say to you, hey man, come over here, sit down, cool, you're having a conversation. But in the same vein, if they're wanting to be left alone, you don't just roll up on them and drop that on them, right? I'm in the locker room with, yeah, I'll go to my favorite example. I'm in the locker room with Bobby Fulton. I said hi, I shook his hand, I left him be until he started talking with people. Don't know what's going on, don't know what his pre-match ritual is, that sort of stuff, so I let him be. Turned out he wanted to talk, so then I talked with him. That's great. But I'm not going to roll up on him like that. The thing that I am getting out of these stories, is that Avery Styles decided to flout a bunch of these things that are kind of indicators for what kind of person you're going to be to deal with on the card.
Well, he's 19 though. I mean, I think social cues at 19 are a little off
I'm not
too.
I'm not giving him that much grace because he should damn well know better.
Yeah,
Now,
I,
he
I,
should he
I
I
he
he
have
should
should
know
know
that
better.
much.
But the other thing I'm going to say is I don't know if anyone had that conversation with him or if they left it to the you've got to figure this out for yourself because you learn the lesson better that way.
yeah, that could be too. But
Go ahead, Matt.
I also think though, like where I do have a problem is like I think a lot of this could have been private conversations to be maybe like
Well,
go to AJ behind the scenes and you would have gotten a better reception. Maybe DM would be like, hey man, this and this happened. It kind of rubbed people the wrong way. I just want you to know so maybe you can relay this feedback to him. Um,
so I do want to get into that. I have a response to that. One thing I want to say, like for that, I think that AJ didn't do him any favors because AJ basically the way it presented was like, oh, like lack of a way to put it, like a Karen. It's like, "Ugh, my child doesn't have to set up the chairs with it, or
Yeah.
any of that stuff." And it's like, yeah, like even Meltzer made the argument. It's like you're flying him in like he's a attraction, so maybe he's not a trainee. That's not something you should really do. But you didn't help things, and I think Meltzer even like was kind of like AJ didn't kind of help the
Yeah.
situation because you are presenting it's like my son who's had two matches is too good to do that, and the controversy started to die down actually. But I don't know if you guys saw it. Cody Rhodes had to chime in a few days later, basically saying like, oh, like, he doesn't have to do that. Like, his father was, legendary wrestler. Like, so based upon his
see now
father's,
that's
the legacy he put like his like Avery has already he set up the effing chairs, and it's like shut the fuck up.
Yeah, Cody.
Like number one nepo baby that can't do a fucking promo without telling like he's Dusty Rhodes' son. Wants to come in and be like, oh, this kid doesn't have to do that. Come on, it's like you're not helping anyone, Avery.
No,
You're not helping Avery at all, Cody.
Because
But
like
I was
with AJ, like, and I also get like from AJ's point of view why he would instantly bristle, because it is wrestling and there are a bunch of high school
it's a
girls.
son.
So
I mean, it's a son. I get
and,
it.
and there's going to be a bunch of people that want to hate on his kid just because too, because they're jealous that he's going to have a bit of a leg up and that he seems like he's talented. So like, I get it that he's going to bristle too, and like.
I do get the hate because the kid is 19 years old, and yeah, maybe he's like farting around the indies for some experience for like a few months or so.
But at least he's doing it
But
though. Like
yeah, but I mean, let's be honest, he'll probably have like a dozen, maybe 2 dozen matches, and then he'll be in NXT. He'll be in NXT within like the year.
that's still better than a lot of their
And
people do though. Like
people probably are jealous because it's like they'll have to grind if they ever get a shot at the WWE or even AEW. Like they'll have to grind for like 10 years or so on the indies, and then this kid, because of who he is, like immediately gets, you know, into NXT probably, and that's the story of wrestling. Like that
Yeah.
that has happened many times, many times over the decades. But to go back to the point you mentioned, it's like, well, this could have been like, you know, a private conversation. Yeah, it should have. But what's lost in all of this, what got lost in all of this, but I want to reiterate because I mentioned it before, all this happened because Natty Neidhart was interviewed and opened her mouth and be like, Avery Styles, he wants to pay his dues.
Yeah, but you
And
don't
that opened
have
the
to.
floodgate because the WWE got cute, and it's like, oh, this kid wants to pay his dues. And people who would actually them are like, ha, no the fuck he didn't. He actually doesn't at all want to pay his dues. Which you could be like, well, he doesn't have to, like all the reasons we said. Like,
no, I think he should. I think he should pay his dues, but
you
I
don't
do
make
think
that argument. You don't be like, he wants to pay his dues, and it's like, no, he doesn't. He wants to be the favorite status of like, my dad's AJ Styles. No, you don't get it both ways. You don't be like, I just working out the grind, guys.
But the thing with that too, though, is like, yeah, I think he should pay his dues, but like, GCW booked him and flew him somewhere for his second match. Like he didn't ask for that. Like the GCW was trying to benefit off his name and the hype of AJ Styles Kid wrestling. Like, so yeah, you can say, well, he's not paying his dues. Like, well, yeah, but like GCW got a benefit out of him because they wanted to cash in on the hype of him.
Well, what he did was demonstrate his character by choosing to behave this way, which is going to put lead weights on his reputation going forward.
But he's 19, though. Like, I have a problem.
I don't give a shit if he's 19 or not.
I get it.
It's still going to be the content of his character.
But that's sympathetic. I'm sympathetic to the points that you can make in favor of for Avery, but I also think like that you can't just whitewash and dismiss it. And
no, but but it's also
again he did seem like, because of his status, he big leagued a little, having 2 matches in, and because he was asked to help out. And the other thing, again, like none of this would have been an issue, except that the a WWE person had to be like pat themselves on the back. It's like, this kid, like, oh, he just wants to work his nose to the grindstone. And it's like, he doesn't. And that opened the floodgates, because then people are like, ha, no, he doesn't. He came off to us as a dick. Whether that's fair, it's perhaps not fair, but I mean, that's the impression
I think
people who actually work with him.
I think it should have been like a private conversation for feedback, because I think the way they approached it is not productive, and it's not going to actually lead to him possibly improving his behavior. Because I do think he's 19, but it doesn't excuse his behavior, but it does say, but he can, like, it's something that he can mature and grow out of. But like, when you handle it the way it was handled, now it's just a fight. Like, there's no
now that I will agree with. By the option of taking this and just making it public, you've made it worse. But okay, let's run this all the way up to until it went public. let's say that everything happens as we have been told,
Mm-hmm.
and Avery is just blowing him off. And then somebody comes to him and goes, "Look, dude, you got to understand. Like, these folks are you're doing stuff that's pissing people off and ruining your reputation 2 matches in. Like, people are not going to want to work with you." And if they went to him and said that, and he went, "Fuck you. I'm Avery Styles. I'm not going to do any of that stuff." Then the idea might be the only way that this is going to get through to him is if word gets out. And because there has to be some kind of corrective behavior on this.
Well, that's
And
why.
one of them might have been, hang on, might have been, "Hey, AJ, your kid's acting like a shithead. You probably want to straighten him out before he ruins his chances to do anything in the business. Like, here's what happened."
Yeah, that's what I would have
Now,
done. That's what I've done.
now,
I've done that in previous. I've done that professionally before when I've dealt with people's kids. I've gone to their parents and
now,
said, "Hey, you need to have a talk."
we also don't know if that conversation took place, because in fairness, it might have.
Mm-hmm.
They might have come to him and said, "Hey, look, man, this is not the way to win friends and influence people." Number two, they might have gotten in touch with AJ and been like, "Hey, your kid's doing this," and might have gotten told piss off. And there might have been something else inflammatory that happened that they're just like, "You know what? Screw this guy. We don't want anything to do with
Or
him anymore. We're putting him on blast."
or that could have happened, and he hasn't had a chance to. He hasn't worked again, so you don't know if he maybe was talked
That
to and
Yeah,
corrected the behavior.
yes. And so what I'm getting at is we don't know. There's a bunch of gray area around this. If everything is taken at face value, that if everything that's been put out there is taken at face value, and the people that have gone to defend Avery Styles are his dad and Cody's tone deaf, insipid defense of it. Because look, I'm never going to hate Cody Rhodes, but I'm sure getting sick of his shit.
Yeah, I know.
Um, if those are the only things that are coming out in defense of it, and I will say I have not seen anything else, then that speaks to me that there's a bigger problem. Yeah, AJ's going to defend his son. Of course he is. However, nobody else is stepping up to back him up. So,
But what I think though, where I think like it shouldn't have been public though is you like of course AJ is going to defend his kid. Like that's what I'm saying though is like now you've turned it into a fight where you might have had a productive conversation and actually addressed the behavior and like actually improved like the situation and he might not have done it again. And I'm
and they
saying
might
if
have tried to do that, and
I'm
they told him to piss off.
I'm
So,
saying at face value though. At face value if it
okay,
happened the way we did, like you did the most non-productive, like you just caused a fight. You didn't actually
yeah,
like you didn't actually like we're sticking at face value. Like I'm saying all that stuff could have happened, I could have understand. If you just did it this way, like, okay, well you didn't really provide any productive feedback. You just kind of put him on blast publicly. Like that's not a great way to get the reaction or the feedback or change in behavior that you want. Like because having done it professionally, like I said, the parent actually like the kid was never a problem again. They were actually a great employee after that conversation was had. But had I put their kid on blast like publicly, that probably would not have happened because their parent would have instantly gone back at me because I'd be being
yeah,
an asshole. And instead of like having that, like, hey, can you smack your kid around a bit? Like they're being a little shit, and then being like, oh yeah, I will correct that right away. And it was a private thing and everyone was better off for it. Instead of being like just putting them on blast publicly, like that just, it wouldn't have gotten me what I needed out of it.
yeah, I agree with you. I'm at the place where it seems okay. We have we're in a Discord with another guy we know, another Brad, who he's got a little bit of an inside track with some stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And him throwing or him vouching for Eric Cannon as a super guy who works hard and does all, that is what gives me a bit of more weight on. It seems to me like they would have tried to have that conversation. Um, there's plenty of people who don't know Eric Cannon that they just are immediately writing him off as a nobody or never was or anything like that. Okay, that's not productive for
No, it doesn't.
assessing that. It's trying to be dismissive. With that little bit of extra info that we have gotten, I'm kind of leaning towards they probably did try and say something to him. But if we put all these pieces together, I'm like, I'm not getting a good picture of Avery Styles. I'm not getting a good impression off of him. So
No,
I
but
don't know.
but like I said, like he has time to mature into that. Like a lot of people, I don't know, a lot of athletes, especially at that age, can be real dipshits. So
Well, then he's going to have to do a lot of work to repair, whether it was right or not. He's going to have to do a lot of work to disprove all of this stuff.
I think though that
So
can be a non-win situation though, because now everyone's gonna pick apart every little thing he does, and then like, you know what I mean? Like he could go to a show and be fine, and no one will hear about it. Then maybe he goes to a show and like doesn't even do anything that bad, and then it gets blown up because Reddit's needs something to have 20,000 threads on for 2 days, while then they delete all the other stuff because their mods are idiots. But you know what I mean? Like
it's
it's gonna it. I
oh
think it's good.
yeah.
I think it's gonna be. I think it's a situation like he really can't win now because like anything good he does is just gonna be ignored, and every little thing he does now is gonna be blown way out of proportion.
If he works at it and he is humble and respectful and pitches in to disprove what's been thrown at him, I think he can work that back around. Especially since you've said he's young. So does that dismiss it? Not in the slightest, but it does give him an opportunity to come back around.
I think it gives
Um,
context too. Because like I said, I don't think it like is a but like for me, like where I'm coming from with that, when people are like, well, they were kind of a dick. I'm like, well, yeah, they're 19. Like, you
I
know,
have known, I have known absolute dickwads that were 19 and people who were respectful and kind and helpful and all that sort of stuff at the same age. And
but I've known people that I like were kind of assholes at that age that kind of grew
that grew
up.
out of it
Yeah.
also.
And I've known
So
people that were really respectful at that age that turned into domestic abusing drunks. So, it,
it is what the thing that we have in the here and now is what did his behavior speak to?
yeah.
And at the moment his behavior spoke to being a disrespectful little shit.
Yeah.
I don't care how talented he hey I don't care how talented Low Key was, as an example. Doesn't matter because I wouldn't want to work with him. And if this is the kind of stuff that happens with Avery Styles, wouldn't want to work with him. And you're going to have a hard time getting bookings if you're an utter pill to deal with.
Well,
So
that depends on if he draws or not. If he draws, like people will put up with it.
he's making an enemy out of one of the more visible indies in the country
Well,
right
I
now.
don't think Brett really said anything about him. So,
He appears to be making an enemy out of one of the bigger indies. Right, Brett keeping his mouth shut right now is the best play
well, and
because it's like
I
I
mean,
didn't say anything, and seeing how things shake out, and making a decision after that.
I mean,
That's the smart thing.
considering some of the talents Brett has booked and continues to
Well,
book, like
okay,
Avery's
yeah.
Avery's crimes are very minimal.
Brett's also looking a lot better by comparison right now, as opposed to Orange Crush and Produce.
Yeah.
So
I mean, like I said, if he draws, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I don't necessarily like when I'm saying he's 19. I do think that is context because what really where I'm coming from with that is I've hated the last decade where they dig something like someone did when they were like 16 and they're like, oh my God, this 30-year-old man said something racist when he was 16. And my reaction is always like, you mean a teenage boy did something insensitive? Like, I'm
Okay.
shocked.
Yes. However, you're comparing two different people in that case.
I'm just saying
Or as a
that's,
teenager to an adult, as opposed to this happened in the last 2 weeks.
well, yeah. But like I said, like,
So,
your, your, your your adult brain isn't there until you're like 24. Like I just think it's like he's gonna have a
yeah.
hard time and like it's like a bad look on him. But I do think he can like grow out of it once he has some like more perspective and stuff.
Well, he's going in for your second match and behaving like this is going to disincline people from
And
wanting to
he's
work with you.
and he is in a weird spot though, because how many people for their second match are getting flown in as like an attraction talent?
And I would say be grateful for that. And if they ask you to help out, help out. And if they say, hey man, we got to clear the ring, clear the ring.
Yeah.
You may be there as a promoted guest, but
I think
you're also not above the people running the show.
the not getting out of the ring part I think bothers me more than the not setting up stuff.
I feel like they're both indicative of the same problem.
They are. I'm just saying in like the grand scheme of things, like
Look, if they had said, "Hey man, can you help us with this?" and went, if he had gone, "Look man, I ate something weird, my stomach's messed up. I'm gonna hit the bathroom, and if you're still going when I get back, I'll help you." And he's in there for a while. Okay, like
yeah.
that's at least believable. But just being like, eh, and then going off and hiding for a while, that also doesn't
Yeah.
that doesn't work for me, brother. So anyway,
I can't believe Cody said something like he realizes like people don't like when he talks now, right?
I don't think he realizes it
I
at
don't
all.
think he's that. I don't think he's.
Cuz like
I don't
because
think
like
he's that self-aware now.
because like I think anyone that's being objective like understands where AJ's coming from because it's his kid. Like AJ's reaction is totally 100% understandable and I think most people that are being reasonable understand okay, well, you know, that's his kid. But like with when Cody's like stepping in, that like just is way worse because well, the other thing is like how would Cody even know?
From being too online.
I don't know. Did he take a break from solving racism? Is that what?
I need to rephrase this. Not from being too online, but seeing something where he thought I need to chime in on this, and it's like you really don't.
It,
You really look. Cody Rhodes he's on TV every week. He has his own podcast, and I think there's something else that he does, right?
yeah.
He didn't need to chime in on this.
Or yeah, he didn't. Or if you feel the need, just be like, hey, you know, I know AJ's kid. He's a good kid. Like you know, he probably just made a mistake. You should give him a chance. Like something like that. I think would be better than the approach he took.
If he had said, you know, I did dumb things at 19 too, and I hope to see, you know, growth come out of this. That's one thing, but to say, by virtue of who my dad was, we already set up
Yeah,
the chair. It's like,
because I've said that about Randy Orton before, just to give like an example of that. It's like I've always talked about I think Randy Orton's a dick. I really don't like Randy Orton, but I've also said like, yeah, if I was 22 and you gave me all that money and like success and fame, yeah, I'd probably be a dick too. Or I probably would have been a dick at that age too. Like, you know, there is a way to be like, yeah, I don't like it, but like I like Randy Orton is a good example of like when we kind of do are fair to someone.
Orton grew out of it, yes.
Yeah.
He did. I am in a place where someone probably should have corralled him when he was younger. And
Yeah,
I don't think anybody did.
I think
So
I don't know. He's a really weird. He's a weird guy.
behaving like that after getting kicked out of the Marines is not a great look to
Yeah,
start with.
but yeah,
So I
he having a kid seemed to really mellow him out.
that whole all of that stuff soured me on Orton real early on.
You know what?
And
You know what kind of won me back with him is oh, I don't remember. It's that guy. It's that kid. He's friends with through Call of Duty.
I got nothing.
They became friends over playing Call of Duty all these years, and like Orton will like ring him up, be like, "Hey, you getting the new game and stuff?" And it's just from playing with each other. And like, it's been a while since I read the story, but it was kind of like a charming like little side story about like the kind of person he is. And I'm like, oh, it's kind of neat.
Yeah. All I can say is my opinion formed in a certain way for a certain reason. And um am not getting a good opinion formed of Avery Styles. So hopefully he learns from this and changes his behavior.
Yeah,
You know what?
hopefully.
That would be great. That would be, as a matter of fact, him doing that would be fantastic. If the next time he's booked for, someone rolls in and um they roll in and they're like, yeah, I had Avery Styles on my show this past week. He showed up. He asked if he could help, help set up some chairs, and was very easy to get along with. That's a great way to show, hey, I learned and I grew from what happened. If this behavior continues, though, he's putting a hole in the side of his career, and he's going to sink it before it ever leaves port.
I think he should work indies a little longer than go straight to NXT because like he seems like he does like as an in-ring talent from what I've heard so far, he does seem to have potential. And if he goes to NXT too early, they're just gonna beat all of that straight out of him.
I mean, this is a he can do the spiral tap already, which is pretty impressive in its own right. But if his training is just performance center training,
Yeah, because
he's never going to live up to his dad.
no, and well, I mean, they've taken talents that like have had some experience. Like Roxanne Perez is a great example. Like they beat the anything remotely good out of her in record time.
They don't care about her.
No, they don't. Who else did? There was someone else that they like. I liked, and then they just kind of beat everything out. There's quite a few people, really, but what were you gonna say,
I,
Shad?
I forgot. I saw when all this was going on, I saw one just amazing comment that says, maybe we should give Avery Styles a little bit of credit. He has to deal with a dad who thinks the earth might be flat.
Mm.
And that just disappoint stuff I've learned about AJ just disappoints the hell out of me. It's like, dude, seriously, man. Because I'd been such an AJ Styles fan for so long, and then I hear more stuff, and it's like, oh, this is a never meet your heroes case.
I think the Earth is flat thing is like a joke. Like there are some NBA players that like legit believe it, but like that's always like that's come up before. But like with the context, I always hear that like he's like saying it as a joke.
I don't know, man. Like I just thought that was a funny line, but as for that sort of stuff, I think someone on his stream said, "Okay, do you buy into that?" And his response is, "Well, I think they have some interesting ideas." Okay, they don't. Um,
Yeah, but I think
but
I think you could. I think like though. I mean, there's stuff I don't believe in, where I'm like, well, the ideas are interesting. I don't believe it, but like, it's fun to read about. Like, I'm like, I mean, I find sovereign citizens to be like fascinating, and I find the whole like why they believe what they believe to be fascinating. I think it's all bullshit, but it's like, yeah, their ideas are interesting because it's crazy, but yeah, like
I'm not buying that for flat earther stuff. I mean,
no,
that just seems like willful
there's
disillusionment.
no their shit's really weird. Because the funny thing is like with historical revisionism, like when Columbus did his whole thing, like no one thought the world was flat. They thought they were going to starve because there was nothing out there. They didn't think they were going to fall
Yeah,
off the end of the earth. Like that
yeah.
was
They thought the trip was going to be too long.
that was a well-known like thing at the time. Like there's a lot of weird stuff like that with history where it's like you actually read it's like, "Oh no, like that's just like some weird historical bullshit like revisionism, like they didn't actually believe that."
Yeah, it's just overly simplified.
Well, and I think also the other one with that I just learned is like they knew they weren't in like India, which people will say. It's like, no, they knew they were in some other weird
Yeah,
place. But yeah, I just think that's funny because people say like, no, they didn't, they thought they were gonna die of starvation.
yeah. They didn't think they were going to make it.
But do you guys want to do the other? We can throw another Funk's Hansen because I think there's four. I think there's four.
There's probably at least a couple more.
Yeah, they're pretty
Well,
good about dating.
we also need to get to our Shadow Rising episode.
Oh, we could do that next week.
Well, we could do that, or yeah, I mean, we'll book 3, book 4 of Wheel of Time,
or Matt,
which will be like probably like a Andy.
or
Go ahead.
or we could do the episode that Shad and I have been talking about for a while. Shad could give his 5-hour dissertation on the urban mech and its various uses.
Let's not. There's someone who's. There are people who are way better at it that have done a way better job than I could do. I'll just give you a link and you can go with that.
You should listen to it, Matt. I think we went a little too nerd wild on that because we were.
did.
Yeah.
I will listen to it.
We were way
But yeah,
deep in the weeds.
We do need to do books 3 and 4 of Wheel of Time. I'm working my way through the series. It's going to be a multi-year project because I'm reading roughly 2 books a year.
Yeah,
from the series.
That's pretty good considering. Well, it might get a little easier because they do get a little shorter after Lord of Chaos. They do come down in page count a little bit. Like that's
the problem where I'm at now. It's like they're fucking long. Like
they are.
I'm gonna read in book 5. In my goal is to read book 5 by the end of the year. I'll probably start soonish, by October at the latest, by September. But it's like 1,000 pages. It's like
they come down to like 700 to 800 after Lord of Chaos.
Still a long like I try my goal. Like I've said in the show before, I had a New Year's resolution in like 2024 because I have like tons of books. I'm like, you know what? I wasn't reading for like the longest time. This is like, oh, I have too much time. I don't have time to like read this. I like dealing with kids, whatever. I'm like, you know what? I need to read my book. I need to read books. So I made a goal. It's like I need to read books, and I'll read a certain amount of books per year, at least 10. And you can think like, well, 10 books might be easy. It's like, yeah, if you're reading like 200-page books, but I'm reading through like minimum, like a lot of times 500, 600-page books. So 10 a year, like is, or better, but at least 10. It's like, that's a good goal. Like,
and it depends on the book too, because like I read A Tale of Two Cities this summer. And it took a while, and it's not like a super long book, but like the prose and stuff is like a lot heavier, so it took me longer.
Some books can be 200 pages, but dense material, so it's like you have to stop and think, and like you're not just trying to grind it out. It's like you want to actually enjoy the book, so
and
you can read like
Yeah, like yeah.
5 pages in with way I read books sometimes. Like 5 pages, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna pause and like think about that for like five,
Yeah.
10 minutes, and then like I'll continue reading. But if I usually read at least two, really probably like three, but at least two books at a time. So if I try to read like a 500, 600 page book, then do the math. I'm trying to read them like a within 3 months or quarterly. I try to at least read like a couple books quarterly, and then a couple other books like throughout the year. But if you read like a 500, 600 page book, you give yourself 3 months, 12 weeks. You need to read like roughly like 200 pages a month. It's about 50 pages a week. For
Yeah.
reading two books, that's like 100 pages a week. It's like, well, you actually can't do that, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, if you
it
read
takes some
like
time. And when it's a 1,000 page book, it's like, oh no, it's just like
uh,
I need to cram this in.
I try to read 30 or 40 minutes before like I go to sleep, and I can polish off books at a decent clip doing that. And I'm not like a super fast reader because like I think because I
Bet.
like tend to picture stuff as I'm going, so it slows me down. And especially when you're in bed, like there's the
Yeah.
occasional time like maybe I wake myself up because I just dropped my Kindle on my face.
This is my e-reader. It is
Oh wow.
very small. But
What
you know
what
what? That makes it easier for me to take with me.
what brand is that?
This is a. I'll send you the link for it, but it is
What's
an Xtenic. Hang on.
what's the text look like on it?
X4.
Is it text?
And so, hang on. Turn it on.
Oh, that's not bad.
Nope.
Okay.
It is. There is nothing else on it. It's just an e-reader with e-ink. But you know what? It's sure easy to carry around by
And
being this small.
it's easier on your eyes too than like a tablet. Do you use Libby with it? Can you use Libby with it?
The thing that I've got right now, the stuff I've got on it is all DRM free stuff
Mm-hmm.
because it's not tied in with any existing ecosystem. I haven't looked into using Libby with it. I probably should, but
I just found, well, I don't know why I just figured this out. I just figured out like archive.org is a treasure trove of DRM free books. Like,
yeah.
and I found like a shitload. Like,
And Project Gutenberg,
oh, I'll have to try that.
because Project Gutenberg is all public domain books.
Well, because the nice thing is I have a Kindle, so if like you get the DRM free stuff, you can go to Amazon and you can just upload it into your cloud, so then it goes to all your Kindle stuff.
Yeah. So, um, if you get one of these, let me know because I need to link you up with. You need different software than the default software that comes on it because the
Okay.
default stuff that comes on it is trash. But I've got Frankenstein and Dracula on here, and I have
Frankenstein's a
all
good
of the
book.
Wheel of Time stuff as DRM free ebooks. So I've got them on here. I've got some Dresden books on here, that sort of stuff.
I
It's just,
just
hey, I can slip that out of my pocket and read some as opposed to picking up my phone, you know?
I reread. It's been like 3 or 4 years now. I reread Frankenstein. I really enjoyed it. I did Dracula too, and I still I'm not a fan. It's too dry. I liked it a little
It's,
better this time, but like it it has its
it is different than, well,
it it took creative risks. Like I
yeah,
would say, yeah.
it's,
It's
it's different. I like the format. The format is that it's all conveyed through journal entries. I
yeah.
like that. That's a fun idea, but
I do like how Dracula's kind of an idiot, and like he's using this like he does this like, oh, I jumped on a boat to go back to Transylvania and it's going to take 2 weeks, and then the people are just like, well, we're just going to get on a train and be there in 2 days and wait for
it's
you.
because he's so old fashioned he doesn't think about those things. So
Yeah, that's a
that is interesting that it's how different that, that's an interesting wrinkle that a lot of people don't think about. And here's like big thing on the genre, and like they hit that right at the very beginning. So
Yeah. But I think that is it for this week. We're going to come back with Wheel of Time next week, I think. Unless something big happens, and then we'll focus on that.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. SummerSlam was pretty dull. The only thing I would say with that is Punk beating Cody kind of legitimately surprised me, but that's really all I can say.
Well, and okay, can't moonsault Punk.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
He hasn't learned. At least
you
he
know
didn't hurt
what?
himself.
We've run him down enough that I'm kind of bored with.
At least he didn't
talking
hurt
about
himself like he did in.
That's true.
But we've been in 3 corners. You've been in the 4th. Thank you for joining us as always, and we will catch you next time.